All right, all right, all right. We are live. What's going on, everybody? Happy Easter. Bona Pasqua. Good to see everybody here tonight. Howie, how we doing tonight, my man?
All right. Happy Easter, everyone.
Good. I hope everybody's doing good. I hope everybody had a safe and happy holiday with you and your families. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I just wanted to ask everybody. We were working on the audio stuff. Is our audio coming in at the same level, like me and Howie's audio levels, or is one higher than the other? I'm just curious. We've been trying to test out a couple different things on the audio before we get started. Let me know in the chat, please, guys. In the meantime, we'll say what's up to a few people. What's going on, Dave? How you doing tonight? Hey, Ruben, what's up, man? Good to see you, bro. I just saw your question from last show, that live that we did, the late night one. Yeah, I had to take that one down for a couple different reasons or whatever. I'll explain it off of here. But yeah, I hope you had a good Easter. Good to see you, man. What's going on? How are you, Griffins? Who else we got? Scott, what's going on? Good to see you. Sven, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you stopping in. What's going on, Becky? Good to see you tonight. Danny Green, my dude. How you doing, brother? Hope everybody's doing well. I don't know if we missed anybody. How you got any shout outs or?
Yeah. Danny Green, Becky Towns, Fan, Ruben. Um, that's all I see on my screen right now. But yeah, hello to everyone.
Yeah, I'm sure we get some people rolling in here. Um, Biggie Smalls, what's going on, man? Good to see you. How are you? Danny says we both sound solid. Audio's good. Dave
All
says
right.
great sound. So okay, good. I hope we're good then. We were
All right.
listening back to the show we did the other night, and there was a little bit of messed up audio coming over on my end. Hopefully, we're trying to I'm trying to figure it out. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to start a GoFundMe to get a new computer or something. You know, I'm just messing around. But yeah, we're gonna we had a couple people ask a few questions from the last show that we did. We're gonna get into those in just a little bit. I did see, I don't know if you saw it or not, but I seen a post. Apparently, Nadu's gonna be back over on Barstool. I think they're doing like some mob show or something. I saw him made a post about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we were gonna get into something that happened on one of his last videos that how he wanted to straighten out that.
Well, it wasn't straightened out. It just was. He. I just was to maybe add to it and comment on a ridiculous statement that he made.
Yeah, but I guess basically just to clarify, what he said was kind of taken out of context, and the timeline and everything like that was all messed up. So I
No,
think
no,
it's
I don't listen. I'm not critiquing the timeline. I know from as of 2008, according to the way Bobby spoke to me, JoJo was thinking about straightening his son out.
gotcha. I said what up to you, Scott, man. You didn't hear? Go listen back, man. I didn't know you. What's up, buddy? Everything's good, man. So yeah, Ruben had a question from last show. Did you want to get into that? We'll start with that and then get in kind of some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess Ruben, if you're in the chat now, did you want to double up on your question? And the reason I'm saying this is because for some reason I don't know what's going on with YouTube right now, but people are leaving comments and posting stuff on the videos afterwards, and it's giving me a notification telling me somebody's username is asking a question. It's only showing me maybe 5 or 6 of the words, and then when I go to click on it, I can't see anything, and I don't know what is going on. So if you wouldn't mind, repost your question just so we have it right that you wanted Howie to answer, so we can go over it. And I think I know Primo had asked a good question, and I tried clicking on that, and I can't see it. I don't know what is going on. I went into the YouTube studio. It's not even showing up in the YouTube studio, so I don't know what is going on right now, but it's driving me nuts. So if you wouldn't mind, if you want to post it, because I don't remember exactly what the message said, and I can't pull it up to see it. Did you remember what it was?
Me? No, but I think let
I
me
thought.
check let me check YouTube your comments because I think it was in the comments.
Yeah, did I? I thought I might have texted it to you, but then I looked and I think I put it on the.
Let's see.
Hey, what's going on, Mo? Hey, Red, what's up, my man? Good to see you. Maverick, what's going on? Good to see you guys. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter.
What's up,
Uh,
Red? Happy Easter, everybody. What's up, Mo?
Mo's in the building too. What's going on, Mo? Happy Easter to you and your family as well. Thank you. Yeah, if anybody else, Red, if you got if you can, if you can pull up Ruben's comment from the last show, he asked a question. I told him to put it in there. I can't see any of my comments right now. When I click on stuff, nothing's showing up. It'll tell me there's 23 comments, and I'll only see 2 of them, and they won't show up. I don't know what's going on right now. It's
Yeah,
driving me insane.
I don't see the comments either.
You're not seeing them either? What
Nope.
the fuck? See what I mean?
The last comment it's showing I made 2 months ago.
Yeah, see, that's I don't understand what is going on right now. Something's up with YouTube.
Then it shows a comment that Dawn Blades made 3 weeks ago.
Okay, somebody just sent it to me. I got it right here.
All right.
Thank you to the person that just sent me that. Thank you. All right, so here's the question. Ruben wants to know. He says, Howie, if you didn't mind or were comfortable explaining your opinion on getting into mob life, the pros and cons, etc. Thank you for acknowledging my question. I've never been any gangs or motorcycle clubs, etc. But I have family that are or have been in that gang life and prison, friends as well. I ride as much as I can and have a few friends that are 1%ers, but I won't ride with them if they're with their brothers because out here in California, you get that tag of affiliation, and I don't need that mess. But I'm always curious as to the East Coast street life and organized crime. I'm not super knowledgeable about the Italian mob stuff, but I can imagine there are many similarities with that life. Looking forward to what you have to say. So his question is basically that you know
Pros and cons.
yeah, what was the reason that you chose that life basically, and then what do you think some of the pros to it and some of the cons that negatively impacted your life from decisions that you made?
Well, I feel like my surroundings chose the life for me. Um, I don't think if I grew up in another neighborhood, I or another state, I don't think I would have been involved with organized crime.
Is you're like a product of your environment, basically.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I was a product of my environment because that's all you saw, that's all everyone looked up to. That was like becoming a celebrity.
And now, how old were you when you first started getting into the streets? How?
I would say probably like 14.
Yeah, right around like when you're getting into high school age, right?
Yeah, where you start like really noticing shit. I mean, yeah, a little younger noticing it, but not like, you know, really doing anything that had anything to do with it. But yeah, like probably like, 14, uh, stealing a bumper or, then eventually robbing cars with a few friends of mine. Um, you know, all that type of shit. Um,
What was the first thing that you remember doing criminal wise? If you do.
Joyriding in a stolen car.
Oh, yeah, that was the first thing. Was a vehicle theft? Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember what kind of car it was?
Shit. It was a fucking big motherfucker.
You wanted the boats, right?
Yeah, like a fucking I forget, Catalina or something. Something fucking old and big.
Yeah, yeah. Now, did you guys hotwire it? Like, how did you guys steal it? Was it hotwired or was it keys in and you jumped in? What was the deal with
No,
that?
no. You broke the steering column.
Yeah.
And that's how you got them. But that first car that we were joyriding in was already stolen.
Oh, okay. I see. I got it. So one of your friends stole it.
Yeah, somebody else stole it, and we just were driving it around.
Now, when you guys wound up getting into the whole car theft thing and stuff like that, did you have like chop shops? Were you like picking them up
Yeah,
to sell them or to take them apart or what?
yeah. We sold the parts, and obviously, when you're around 14, 15, you, you're just you're kind of young, But yeah, I would say like around 16, 17 when we started actually doing shit for money.
Now, what would you get for obviously, I'm sure the type of vehicle that it is depends on the price or whatever, but was there like a going rate for like a car that you would get at that time?
Oh man, I don't remember the fucking prices.
Gotcha.
Um, I know like a bumper at the time was probably like 100, 150, I believe, something like that. And
That's
then
when they
like
had like the old like metal ones still, right? Like real bumpers.
yeah, that you had to fucking get under the car and screw it off. Yeah.
Yeah, like the bolts and shit
And,
like that.
and,
Yeah.
and it all depended on what kind of car the bumper came from. Like robbing wheels was a thing too.
Oh,
You
big.
know,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
still
and,
big. That's
and
huge
then
now.
yeah, and then like what we used to call a package back then. Like if somebody wanted like an Eldorado package,
Yeah.
that would be the nose, the doors, the trunk,
So basically,
and
all the body panels for like the
all the
repair
body
shop.
panels. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, those are always the easiest sales too. Were
Yeah.
you were you
Huh?
around when they were doing like the airbags and stuff like that?
Yeah. The airbags came later on.
That
Uh,
was a huge market.
yeah, it started out, people giving good money for airbags, like 600 an airbag, but then, depending on what airbag you took, it'd be like 300 an airbag. But you'd go out and you'd fucking rob like 10, 15 of them in one night.
Oh yeah, you could clean up then. Shit, that was big money back then too.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't. I mean, I remember prices like as low as like 300, and then prices as high as like between 600 to 800, depending on what kind of car it was.
Yep. Well, it's funny too. I was watching one of those documentaries when like the DeMeo crew and those guys were doing all the big airbag thefts and shit like that.
Hmm.
And they would obviously they would have people that were going out stealing, like you said, 10, 15, 20 of those airbags a night and selling them off to these places. And they literally had a warehouse filled with like thousands of these airbags. And the people were going to the body shops, to the repair shops, and they were winding buying the airbag back out of their own car that got stolen. They were fucking reselling it to them.
Yeah, that would happen, from time to time, obviously. Uh, because there was only so many places that were buying the airbags. Um, I guess if you were a Brooklyn guy, you sold your airbags to people in Brooklyn that own junkyards. Like we sold a lot of our airbags to a place in Queens called Privet Auto Salvage.
Okay.
Yeah, and then most of the junkyards were buying the airbags in the beginning, but then auto crime started cracking down on them. So they started to raid places. So
Yep.
only like certain ones would do it, and they would only take them from certain people.
Yeah, I remember actually. What actually happened is because of all the airbags that were getting stolen, especially like in places like New York City and stuff like that. That was the reason why I think Toyota and Honda were the first two companies that started doing it, where they started putting the VIN numbers on the airbags.
Right? Yeah. Eventually, they started putting VIN numbers everywhere
Yep.
because you couldn't even you weren't selling packages anymore. Um, like a lot of people would do insurance jobs on their car. Take the parts off their car, report it stolen, and then just put their old parts back when they got their check. But put numbers on everything changed all of that.
Yeah, they definitely put that to a halt. That's for sure. I actually think that I think one of the reasons why the DeMeo crew and those guys wound up getting caught is because somebody at the inspections at the port or whatever had noticed, I guess, that some of the locks on the trunks were punched out, and they had the VIN numbers inside the panels on some of the cars that these guys didn't know about. They started putting them on the actual like frames of the cars and in other places that they didn't know about. Obviously, they're not going to tell anybody. So I think that's how they wound up getting that whole ring wound up getting busted, was over something as stupid as that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, is that if you don't have anybody giving information, the cops won't know where to go to look.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
they were already being investigated, when that shit happened.
Yeah, that was a huge. You think that they had one of the biggest rings at that time in New York? I'm sure they had other ones, but theirs was. I mean, those guys were making millions.
Well, you're only gonna know about the rings when they get caught.
Oh right, yeah, that's true too. Very true. Yeah,
Um,
I forget reading the numbers to it. They were because they were sending all their cars overseas, I believe, right? Or a lot of them.
yeah, they were, yeah, and they weren't the only guys doing that, but I guess they were big.
Yeah, they got on the radar. That's all that it took. Somebody has a question here. Dave had a question. I don't know if you want to get into this right now or if you
Well,
want.
let me answer Ruben's question.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. My bad.
I mean, obviously the cons to that life. Well, I started to talk about what age. Anyway, obviously the cons to that life is you're going to jail, you're dying, and that's it. Um, there's no happy ending, but the pros is you will have a lot of good times, and you get treated differently. But
And I think that's one of the big differences between organized crime as opposed to basically like gang life and stuff like that, is that especially at that time, it was a big thing to be involved with organized crime, living in the neighborhoods where you guys came from.
yeah,
It was a lot different than guys that were part of like a local street gang or something like that. So
no, we didn't behave like a local street gang. No, we didn't do like drive-bys and shit like that.
yeah. So part of his question was, is that what do you think the similarities or differences are between the growing up in an organized crime versus like a street gang or something like that?
I don't think they're similar at all. I just think obviously when it comes, violence is violence. You know what I'm saying? Nobody. If you shoot somebody in the head, you're not going to do it any better than the next guy. You know what I mean?
Yep, for
But
sure.
with organized crime, when you weren't committing crimes, you behaved like a man of respect. Um, that echoing is kind of loud uh, for me, anyway. So we were, you know, in organized crime, you tried to act like a man of respect. You dressed well. Um, you know, for the most part, you didn't act like an idiot when you went out. It's just it's different. It's not the same. It's like the street gangs, doing drive-bys, and I mean, selling drugs. Yeah, selling drugs is selling drugs, but most organized crime guys weren't standing on the corner selling drugs. Like they would sell, you know, whatever it was, pounds, keys, to the people who would, you know, sell it to the people that would make its way down to the people selling on the street corners, you know?
Yeah, most of those guys were basically wholesalers.
Right. You know,
For the
they were
most.
guys, neighborhood guys that sold weed, sold coke and stuff like that, that you can beat and they'll come to you, and sell you whatever it is you wanted. But they weren't we, for the most part, like, uh, we had guys like the guys that were into selling drugs, they had guys inside the bars, the neighborhood bars, and you knew who to go to in that bar. And and then those same guys would also, if you gave them a call or beat them, would come to you. But no, never standing like on the street corner and selling to people that you don't know.
Right. Now, what do you say you wound up growing up somewhere else, and obviously this is a hypothetical or whatever, but obviously you would have lived a totally different life. But what do you think your life would have been had you not grown up in the neighborhood in the area that you came from? Did you ever think about that?
I don't know. I guess whatever. I really have no idea. Um, because for me to say something now, it's because I already know what the end result is.
Yeah, of course.
Um, back then you don't know what you know. Maybe if I'm growing up in a neighborhood where there's street gangs, maybe I become part of a street gang. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously it's a tough question, especially like you said, because you know what the end result is. So it's like that old saying that hindsight's 20/20, right?
Right. I mean, if you're living in a good neighborhood, where all the kids pretty much go to school and don't commit crimes, then you're gonna follow that. If you live in a neighborhood where everyone's part of a gang or committing crimes and whatnot, you might fall into that.
Yeah,
But for the most part, like, there's just I don't believe there's any other. You can't compare any of those things with organized crime. It's so much different.
yeah, and I'm
Uh,
sure it's hard
Back
for
in
people to relate.
the day, anyway.
Yeah. And I think I would agree with you for the most part in that, but at the same time, like I've never really gotten into my own personal story on here, whatever. But maybe I'll start opening up more and start talking about it at some point. But kind of that the fact that we're bringing it up, talking about what eventually led you into a life of crime, I would say, or involved in the streets or whatever and stuff like that, is that I didn't necessarily come from a neighborhood that was obviously in street gangs or organized crime and stuff like that. And I think that if you have that type of personality or mentality or whatever, that you'll find it no matter where you are. You'll kind of seek it out in a way. I remember, and I was around the same age, probably about 13, yeah, like 12, 13, around that time when I started getting into the streets and shit like that. And I remember having a conversation with somebody, and it's something I'll never forget. They were telling me, around that time when you're getting into like high school, I would say for most people, that's probably when it starts, when you really start kind of choosing your path in life, I suppose. I don't know if you can relate to that. Um, but I remember them saying something about kids that stay, wind up staying in sports and stuff like that, and then you leaving it, and you get bored and you start gravitating towards other stuff. I think it's really important, like organized sports and stuff like that for kids, especially to stay involved and do stuff like that, because that does keep kids off the streets or getting off that path. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is too is you have TV, so if your neighborhood, you're still gonna hear about those things, and even if it's not in your neighborhood, you're still gonna kind of like be in awe of it.
Yeah, and I always hung out with older kids, that were several years older than me for the most part. And I always, kind of looked up to these guys and saw what they were doing, and I kind of, started gravitating towards them and wanting to be involved in doing shit that they were doing. And that's when
Yeah.
that's when I
Well,
started going astray.
yeah, so you had guys in your neighborhood doing it, and you followed their way.
Yeah, yeah, for the most part, yeah. So I think that it's, I think it's up to you, at that point, the decisions that you're going to make and the choices you make in life that could really change the trajectory of what you want up doing, or what you want to becoming at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, it's all about who you meet. You know, just one little thing could change the direction in your life, right? You meet somebody who's a successful drug dealer, right? You
Yeah.
see he's got all nice things, got a lot of money. So, just because you met that guy, now he piqued your interest,
Yeah, that's pretty
But
much that's pretty much what happened to me, believe it or not. Pretty much verbatim what you just said there, yeah. And I would say, because you gotta also look. I mean, at how many people from your neighborhood that you did grow up with that didn't choose that path and didn't make those decisions to get involved in stuff like that at the same time. I mean, how many people from the neighborhood or the area you're from do you think
well,
wound up in
well,
the street?
the thing is like most of the kids in my neighborhood that didn't become uh, organized crime figures, they still committed crimes when they were kids. They just didn't get caught, and they went in a different direction. You know, but to say like, I mean, I got friends of mine that were just like me when we were the same age, and one guy became a police officer. Or a few guys became police officers. So and this guy was doing the same shit as us, driving stolen cars and you know selling drugs here and there. But
Yeah, and they eventually made that turn though at some point and made a better decision to change their lives then.
yeah, I guess they realized that you know that life wasn't for them. Because as you get older, things get more serious.
Yep.
It ain't kid stuff anymore.
Yeah, around what age for you did you think was like the turning point where you decided that was what you wanted to do, or were you that young from a young age that you said that was it?
Um, I mean, I decided I wanted, make money committing crimes. Like I said, around 14 years old. Um, but when I started really getting into, you know, the mob shit is, when I started hanging out down by the corner of the social club, and making friends with the right people, I guess. And, you know,
Who was the first person that you met or had direct contact with that was involved directly with the organized crime that kind of got you into that?
probably this guy named John DeLorenzo. He was actually running the social club for JoJo and, doing some Shylocking.
Uh,
Yeah, he's older than me, probably like maybe 3, 4 years older than me. And he became a really good friend of mine, and we had we got along and we had a lot of laughs together. And, he basically, at the time I was hanging out on a corner of a pizzeria called Mary's Pizzeria. And then because I became friends with him, I started going by the club with him. And, and then another guy I met was Paulie McDonald. He was one of JoJo's favorites at the time, too. And so I kind of like met the both of them simultaneously.
yeah.
And, going to hang out by the club, you start to meet some of the older guys, and little by little, the next thing I know, you know, JoJo asked me to give him a ride somewhere, and not too long after that, I became his driver.
And how old were you when you met JoJo and started doing that for him?
Well, being like officially like his driver, I would say was probably late 80s. So what would that be? 680. I would probably say like around somewhere around 84 to 86.
Okay, so you're around like 20.
Like I mean, I was already see when I started going by the club, right?
Uh huh.
Moose was running the club for him, right? So at 17, I would say, yeah, probably like around 17 years old, 18 years old, around there. I started keeping score at the card games
Oh, okay.
with Moose. His nickname was Moose. And so, I spent a few years, keeping score. And obviously, I started to meet everyone. And, and then little by little, uh, I became more friendly with Joe. And I guess he took a liking to me. And, like probably like around like maybe 19, 20, I started giving him rides here and there. And then like around, probably probably like the beginning of 85, maybe I started like driving him around more routine. And then eventually I took over the club and started running the club. Um, yeah, a lot of shit happened for me like around the late 80s, mid to late 80s.
Yeah, so around this time at that point, what years was it that that JoJo was driving Gotti Senior around, because he was his driver for a while too, and around that time was when Gotti obviously took over the family and became
Yeah,
boss. So,
so that was in 85.
oh, so right around that time is
But
when he
yeah,
started taking over. You started getting
but see
involved with him,
the thing is that was late 85. It was in December.
right?
So I was already uh, working at the club and doing things, before that.
And what year was it that you became partners with Ronnie in the social club? Is that all the same around the same time there too?
No, that was probably around. Uh, I don't know. I would say I don't. I can't remember specifically, but I would say around like 87, 88, something like that. Because
Oh, okay.
he wasn't straightened out yet.
What year was Ronnie Trujillo straightened
I
out?
think he was straightened out at 89 or 88, around there.
Yeah, that makes sense. 88.
Well, I don't know if it's 88 or 89, but I guess
Um,
we talked about a long time ago.
yeah, I was gonna say we're trying to think back now. What, like almost 40 something years ago now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Angela, good to see you. I'm sorry to hear about what happened with your nephew there. Condolences to you and your family, and happy Easter as well.
So what were you saying?
Yeah, no, we were just talking about when you started getting involved with the club and everything with Ronnie with the social clubs and started driving for JoJo there. And now what? So what happened with the guy that you met originally, the Di Lorenzo? What wound up happening with that guy?
Oh, he just I guess he didn't want to do it anymore because he was always getting into trouble for not being at the club. And he had a kid. And I don't know exactly what happened or why he wind up not running the club anymore. I have my suspicions, but I'm not gonna say a suspicion and it's not true. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand that.
I
Yeah,
mean, the guy is still out there, and he
right.
never did anything to me. So, I'm not gonna put his business out there, uh, So yeah, because I remember the day when I took over the club officially, I was in Philadelphia at that hospital that's like known for being good for cancer patients.
Uh-huh.
JoJo's mother was in that hospital because she had cancer, and I remember JoJo offering me the club in the hospital.
Oh wow. And now what did that mean exactly when you were going to take over the social club? What were your roles or like duties at that time that you were going to be taking over for him?
Uh, pretty. Well, I wasn't going to keep score anymore, but just I was, managing the money, uh, making sure, the card games were ran well, taking care of the machines, making sure there was food for the customers, and then in between all of that, I was with Joe. So what started to happen is, I started getting more responsibilities with Joe and spending more time with him. So obviously I couldn't be at the club as much as I was probably should have been, And he suggested that maybe I need a partner. So that's when he suggested somebody that I didn't want to be a partner.
Uh-huh.
So he asked me, well, who do you suggest? And I said Ronnie, because at the time Ronnie was always there,
Yep.
and we got along. We were friends, and I knew there wouldn't be any like disputes between me and Ronnie because he was on another level than me. Even though he's my partner and we're equals, but like if you're working partners with someone that's on the same exact level as you, trying to impress people and climb up the ladder, you're gonna run into problems with that person. You know, at that time, Ronnie was already up the ladder. He was proposed to get straightened out, and that's what Joe told me. Yeah, he said you can ask him, but hopefully he won't get insulted.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So I said, I don't think he'll get insulted, and he didn't. He didn't get insulted at all. So we became partners, and he was always there day and night anyway.
Yeah, so it made sense for him to do that at that point.
Right. Then eventually he made, Aldo's Pizzeria like his little headquarters, Ronnie. So it was perfect for him. Perfect for him and perfect for me. Because
Yeah.
then I only had to go there like in, late afternoons, evenings.
Yeah, so what were you splitting it? 50-50 with Joe and then you and Ronnie split the 50?
No, we split it three ways.
Oh, three. Oh, it was direct three ways. Oh, okay.
Right. It was just the machines that we wind up splitting 50% because technically it's supposed to be 50-50 with the machine guy, right?
Right.
But Jojo was partners with the machine guy on the back end. So he was a partner on the front end and the back end.
Oh, so he was getting a bigger
Like,
chunk.
yeah, right. So, he was getting he was partners with us on 50%, and then partners with the guy who supplied the machines 25% each.
Oh yeah, so he was doing good. He was doing good with those then.
Yeah, of course.
And how many of the machines did you have in that particular club that you were in?
We had like it varied at times. Sometimes we had like three of them, maybe at the height four, then just two.
Yeah, and I heard those machines on average would take like a few $1,000s each every week for the most part.
2,000. Forget.
No, a few thousand. I'm saying each machine.
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
what was like an average? You think?
like you said, a few thousand a machine every week.
Yeah. So when you got that opportunity, that was like a gold mine for you then at that time then.
Yeah, I was making money. I mean, I was making money keeping score at the card games, and now I was a partner. And then that was when Joe suggested I take action, and then Shylocking,
Now,
and
did he give you like what were some of the other opportunities he gave you when you started kind of becoming partners in the club? Did he start giving you bookmaking customers and Shylocking people to give it to, or did you have to find a lot of the people on your own there?
no, I found the people. He gave me like one, like a few guys, but for the most part, I found my own customers because um, that was how I became partners. Because he had guys that worked for him, and they were just getting a paycheck to collect from his guys. You understand?
Yeah.
And I remember this guy Mikey Monk. He kind of like put in a beef, like why is he partners and we're just getting a check? And he said because he's getting his own customers.
Ah. Now the Mikey Monk guy, I've heard him. I think I heard Ruggiano speaking about him before. That's the same guy there.
You probably heard A-Light speak about him.
Oh, maybe it was A-Light then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something happened with that guy, right?
No, nothing happened to him.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking
He
of
passed
somebody else
away.
and maybe a similar name.
What
Yeah,
was
maybe
that?
I'm confused now. I'm thinking some guy got put in a wheelchair or something. He got shot or something a couple of times. It might be something else that I'm thinking about.
No, no,
No?
no.
Oh, okay. Um, so this goes on obviously for a while, and I think you wanted to touch up on some stuff, kind of fast forwarding a little bit.
I started selling fireworks too.
How
I started getting involved with everything.
now did you feel like when you started driving around for JoJo that it kind of took you out of the opportunities to make money doing other stuff though? I mean, that had to be a full-time job for the most part, no?
No, because I was making money. I was partners in the club. I was Shylocking. I was taking action. I was selling fireworks. I was making a lot of money back then.
So when did that stuff kind of end and you started doing those big commercial burglary jobs, or were you doing that the whole time too?
No, I started doing the commercial burglaries and stuff like that, and the robberies like around in the middle '90s, like
And what
around '94, '95.
now what was the reason you transitioned and started doing those opposed to what you were doing before?
Um, I'll get into that another time. That's like a long story in itself.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I got you. All right, so basically, fast forward, and then obviously at some point, JoJo gets locked up, and you get put on his list, obviously, and you can't really hang around with him too much. And he tells you to start.
That's what fucked things up a lot.
Okay, yeah, so that's when things really started changing, right?
Yeah, because now I couldn't meet him from 1994 or late '93. I forget. I got put on his list. So when he was locked up, I couldn't see him. When he was out on bail or whatever,
Right.
or on supervised release.
And
But
how long was that for?
we found our ways to see each other, but it just wasn't the same.
Yeah, how long was he on paper for that during that time? It was quite a while, or
He was on paper for the New Orleans case in '94, I believe.
well,
Uh,
that's actually an interesting case. I don't know. Have we spoken about that before on here? I'm not sure that we have.
I mean, I've spoken about it, but It'll take too long. That could be another show or whatever.
Yeah, that'll be a whole show within itself right there. Yeah, that's a really interesting story down there with the Marcello family.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a long story. It's just we're getting off track here. You know, like you
Yeah,
started out with a question. Now I'm starting to tell my life story.
yeah. Well, I think people are interested. They want to hear more about it. So, um,
Yeah, I mean they could. Yeah, but explaining it all over the place. It's just.
no, I get it. I understand. Yeah, you've done a lot of interviews on and spoken about it on other shows before. So if they want to check that out, there's interviews where you get into a lot of that stuff on there. So,
Yeah.
so moving forward, I know you wanted to talk about the Bobby Glasses case.
No, not about his case. Just about what he said about Joseph.
Yeah, you want to get into that?
Well, the dude did a show, right? He said that Joseph, the attorney, is supposedly a made guy. It can very well be true because, like I said, in 2008 ish, I sat down with Bobby and we had a conversation that was recorded, and he told me that he thought JoJo was crazy for wanting to straighten out his son. And then when this guy Vinny Car Wash got straightened out, the very next day I had a conversation with him, and he had explained to me that Joseph told him that he was going to be with Louis Mastrangelo. So I found that to be a little odd that Joseph was telling someone who they're going to be with.
Now that's the son you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was he straightened out at the time? I don't think so because Bobby wouldn't have said it the way he said it. He would have said like this guy's crazy for straightening out his son. He
Right.
said for wanting to straighten out his son.
Yeah, I think I think that would have been a pretty crazy move in my opinion.
But hey, listen, he may have very well gotten straightened out. I mean, I've been off the streets since 2009, so I don't know. I can't say for sure. But the thing that I thought was ridiculous about what Nadu said is when Joseph was driving with Andrew DiDonato and Andrew DiDonato shot somebody, that JoJo said, shoot him. Yeah, he may have said, shoot him, but Nadu tried to make it like it was a mob order, like, you know, like it was in order from a organized crime standpoint, like it was just kids that, were out driving around and got into a beef with somebody driving in another car. And, I guess Joseph said shoot him, but Andrew probably shot him because he wanted to shoot him. It's not like Joseph gave him an order.
Right. So the way that he framed it was basically like he was trying to say that he gave him an order for organized crime, like as a made member. Telling
Yeah,
somebody
like
else
like
what to
like
do.
Joseph was a gangster at the time, and he gave Andrew DiDonato an order.
And what year was that? Like the early '90s, right?
No, that was like in the 80s.
Oh, it was all the way back in the '80s.
Yeah, Joseph wasn't even an attorney yet.
Oh, okay. Wow.
He
Well,
was
yeah.
still
If you
going.
listen.
He was still going to school. Me and Joseph are the same age.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was still going to school. He had his friends in Brooklyn. The Canarsie crew, but they all grew up together. Like those were his friends that he grew up with, and
Right.
he's just hanging out with his friends. Like Andrew DiDonato, and like the dude tried to make it like he was even given orders during that time.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is not true.
Now Andrew DiDonato, I think he's done some shows and stuff like that on YouTube on some other channels and stuff like that. Did you have a relationship with him directly yourself or no?
No, I never had a relationship with Andrew.
Oh, okay. Because I think he was close with JoJo's brother. He was with Nikki, right?
Right. Yeah, he was friends with the Canarsie guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was friends with the Canarsie guys too, but it wasn't like we uh they were in Canarsie and we were in Queens. But yeah, I know all of them. Richie LaPana, Sally Lip, Mikey Wide. Uh, and I used to mostly see them at like like occasions, like weddings or engagements. Then that's when I would see those guys mostly, and then I used to see them more often as they used to come around by the club too as they got older. And yeah, but they were just like acquaintances. Um, I think I went out to dinner a few times with Sally Lit. We became good friends for a small period of time. Um, but yeah, Vinny Dragonetti, his son-in-law. But when I say I know them, it's not like we hung out together. You know.
Right. Now, now were a lot of the guys that were around JoJo more of the Queens based faction? Because it seemed like Nikki had more of just the Brooklyn guys there for the most part.
Yeah, the Queens guys were with Joe.
Okay.
That's yeah. That's what. That's why they were called the Queens guys.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people maybe won't understand or got kind of confused about the relationship between JoJo JoJo and his brother.
Now, listen, their relationship, uh, from when I know Joe, I don't know what it was like uh, before the early '80s,
Uh
but it was like separate. It seemed separate to me. Like JoJo was doing his thing and Nikki was doing his thing.
Yeah, and it seemed like for a while that JoJo kind of sided with Gotti in that faction, and Nikki was kind of on the other side there. And do you think that that caused a lot of tension between those guys?
Nah,
No.
JoJo was never going to side with Gotti over Nikki. But it's just
Oh
like what? It's
no.
just like anything else. Like brothers are always going to fight with each other. Like when it comes to money, and you know who's above who, it's always going to be problems.
Right.
And Nikki had Canarsie in Brooklyn, and JoJo had Queens.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the confusion comes along because you always hear about the rift between Nikki and Gotti Senior there, and at the same time it seemed like JoJo had a lot closer relationship with
No,
Gotti than Nikki
but
did.
when Nikki had his rifts with Gotti, JoJo was with Nikki. That was when they were with Fat Andy.
Oh, okay. So that didn't come until a lot later on then.
Yeah, I'm talking about like when Fat Andy's not around no more and JoJo gets made.
Gotcha.
You
Now
know now
he got straightened out before, or Nikki got straightened out before
Nikki
JoJo, right?
Nikki got straightened out before Joe. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I guess when Joe got straightened out, uh, he went on his own. They still did things together. Don't get me wrong. There still was certain things like uh, they were partners in. Like but the day to day for Joe was different than the day to day for Nikki.
Yeah. Now, how close were you, relationship wise, with Nikki? Did you have any relationship with him, being as close with JoJo as you
Oh,
were?
I
No.
I knew him, but he wasn't really talkative.
Oh no.
No, I
Oh
seen
okay.
him plenty of times. I was at the wake, the funeral of their mother. I used to go by his mother and father's house a lot and see him over there. That's actually where I met Lenny Di Maria. I was actually in the club, and somebody came. I forgot who it was who came and got me. but they brought me to the house because Lenny had just got out of prison,
Yeah.
and they introduced me to Lenny. I guess so he'd know who I was, you know.
Yeah. In case you guys ever had to do anything, right? And now what? So what was the whole situation that led up to the whole thing with Bobby? That was because JoJo wound up going away.
Yeah, right. JoJo, when he was getting ready to turn himself in, we were in the car, and he said because he said to stay by Bobby's while he's away. Because me and Ronnie had a falling out.
What was that? What was that over?
I'll tell you privately.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got you.
I mean, this turned into a fucking common sense Q&A.
It turned into what?
A common sense Q&A.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, I'm like, I wasn't prepared for this. I'm trying to remember things I can't remember. And I don't like to say things when I don't remember because this is all permanent.
No, I understand.
No, I
got
don't like people to say I fucked something up or I said something wrong.
Yeah, people are asking questions and stuff in the chat. I was just trying to follow up with a few things on here. So, Ruben said something. He says, Howie, do you find when people speak on things like the story just told that the terminology used makes a story true or not? I'm not exactly sure what the question is here. Can you rephrase that, Ruben? I don't know what you're asking here. Sorry about that. So we were talking last show about the conversation when we were talking about the whole Joey Merlino thing when he kept referencing how he beat the case or whatever.
Yeah.
And you wanted to talk about the conversation that you had with Bobby during the trial when you brought that point up.
Oh, I just when I was being when I was testifying, you know, the prosecutors, because before I testified, we spoke. Me and the prosecutors spoke, and you know, like they had asked me like what because I had mentioned something like earlier. So he said, so they had, you know, asked me like what is, you know, when somebody says they beat a case mean to you? And then I explained to them, you know, like usually it's because they were guilty and they beat the case. And when they were questioning me, they asked me to explain it. And that was like a subject, I believe, in one of Jerry Capicci's articles, because nobody really done that before, like use that type of angle, you know, to explain like when somebody says they beat the case is because they were actually guilty.
Yeah, that must have came back to really bite him in the ass then when he heard that.
Yeah, well, that was one of the key things that I guess, you know, helped the prosecution win, because they had us having that conversation on tape and him agreeing to beating the case.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, I've heard people repeatedly using that terminology and saying stuff. That's why I heard when Joey Merlino kept saying that on the Patrick Bet-David interview. I'm like, he should probably fucking come up with a different answer, a different way to phrase that, because that might come back and bite him in the ass too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it should, but hey, you know, if they don't have the evidence, they don't have the evidence. They can't get them just on saying I beat the case.
Oh no, for sure.
Yeah, they got to have other supporting shit.
Yeah, I'm sure they're listening closely though, waiting for him to slip up and say something that they could try to use against the guy. A lot of people were making comments about, I guess, stuff that was said on the show that you know, they didn't understand, you know, why or I don't know, maybe why I was saying stuff about, you know, the fact Merlino wasn't going to talk about anything on the interview. And it's like, yeah, obviously that was the whole point of the conversation that I was trying to get out there, is that I don't understand why Patrick Bet-David would ask him questions that he knows the guy's not going to answer on there, and he kept doing it over and over and over again. It was fucking ridiculous.
That was more like a clickbait show, just to get fucking views based on Joey Molino's name because he didn't fucking say anything.
Yeah.
Unique Massive said something about tag jobs. Yeah, back in the day, it was so easy to do tag jobs. Like all you needed was a VIN number from a wrecked car that still wasn't, registered as a wrecked car, and just steal the exact same car and change the VIN.
Oh, you're talking about when they used to have like the little hard like metal plates you can just pop off and put on another car, or the paper tags or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was before they started like etching them into the metal and shit like that, and into the blocks.
Back then when they were able to do that, everybody was driving around in a Mercedes. Back in the fucking early '80s, around JoJo's Club.
Yeah.
Mercedes and BMWs, they all had them. They were all tag jobs.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Ruben said there's certain words that people use, like I guess prison vernacular, that when something is said, because most of the people know certain verbiage, know what's what. Then when they get out and they hear that, and then they talk, so you're saying just by people knowing like the lingo or the language that you talk, whether or not somebody's telling the truth or not. I mean, I wouldn't hold anybody to that. I mean, you got a guy like, I don't know, you got a guy like Pete's on here that watches, fucking documentaries and interviews and stuff like that, and he picks up on stuff, then he repeats and then puts himself into the story. So for people that probably don't know the guy, hearing him talk for the first time, you might believe him, but obviously if you know better, you know he's full of shit. So
yeah, then that would make like everyone that grew up in Queens, Brooklyn, credible because they all speak the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, you can't really go by that. I mean, there's so many bullshit artists, just not just in this genre, but in general, even like online and stuff, that you can pick up on that stuff, and all of a sudden you're on a big platform telling a story that winds up being complete bullshit. But it sounds good for the people that are listening that don't know any better. It's a pretty easy thing to get away with. So you can't really go by that at all, if that's what you're asking. No. So, and I got a question or comment from somebody. Obviously, I guess there was a show earlier or something. Somebody was using my name in a chat or whatever. That's not fucking me. I would never be over there. And that person knows that it's not me either. They're just trying to start shit. So just to clear that up, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, we ain't even gonna talk about that guy. We just give him enough rope to hang himself.
Yeah, that's all. Trying to skim through anybody's got any other questions or anything that they wanted to ask to go through. Was there anything else that you wanted to go over? I think we answered a couple questions that people had on here, but if anybody else has anything they wanted to ask, shoot it in the chat. Somebody had a question here and I just lost it. I was trying to find it on here. I don't know where it went. Oh, something about Mickey's full effect. I don't know what you're talking about. You know what this comment is about? Mickey Rourke's in full effect with the new one kid. I don't know what that's about.
In full effect with the new one kid.
Yeah, I have no clue what that means.
Who's the new one kid?
That I honestly I have no idea. I haven't watched any other shows or anything like that. I have no fucking clue. Boogeyman, what are you talking about? Does anybody know what he's talking about? I have no clue. I honestly haven't been watching anything or paying attention to anything. Oh yeah, and shout out to Gunsmoke. Somebody asked earlier. I went back and forth with him on a text. He's doing all right. I don't know when he's going to be back or whatever, but I'm sure he'll be back soon. He was dealing with an illness, so it seems to be better. He texted me back and got back to me, so hopefully he'll be back on soon. I'm sure he'll post. So
yeah. The West Coast is totally different from the East Coast, and especially back in those days.
Oh, even the whole prison system and everything, how those guys operate, even on like the state level. I mean, the politics out there are ridiculous. You don't deal with any of that stuff on the East Coast that they do out there, where everything's like segregated, like race wise and shit like that. That's like more like the federal. They operate like the federal system out there, even in the states. I at least I never dealt with any of that when I was in any of the state prisons I was. What about you?
What?
You know how like when you go to the feds, everything's segregated, by races and stuff like that.
Um,
In the state, they don't do that. At least not here, anyways.
no, in the East Coast, no.
No. So if that's what your question is, yeah, no, things out on the West Coast are totally different than the East Coast. They don't do any of that shit.
Yeah, they're way different.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really strict and they're really racist on their policies regarding like different races mixing with each other, hanging out with each other and shit like that. I don't know why that is. I'm not quite sure. I don't know the reason for that. But Dave said, Howie, when they made you wear a wire at any point, did you think, oh shit, they may know? I think you would think like that all the time.
Nah, nobody would ever. There were so many people surprised that I cooperated and was wearing a wire. So a lot of people didn't even believe it for a long time. But yeah, no, they're not gonna find. The, the, they're not gonna find the device unless they start breaking open your key fob or something.
Right. Yeah, and at that point, if it's that serious, you got other things to worry about than them fucking just finding it because the game would be up at that point.
Right, because now if they don't find anything, that person's gonna have a problem.
Now, did you ever think at any point, like, was there any like protocol or anything if somebody even like ever had that suspicion or say something? I mean, they probably wouldn't, obviously, unless they could prove it. But did that ever come across your mind at all or no?
That they suspected someone?
No, if they did, was there like a protocol on like what to do, or you just kind of left on your own to just
No,
talk
I
them
just
out of
don't
it or
talk to
convince
them.
them? What's that?
Just don't talk to them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess obviously it's easier said than done, right?
I
Well, I
mean,
think at one point you said when was it when Alphonse drove by or something, somebody like called you or whatever, and you were still gonna go in and show up, right?
well, I told the feds that I was willing to, make like nothing happen, and just tell them that, the Fed that I was meeting with was just a friend of mine that lived over there. Um, but they were against it, so that was it.
Yeah, they gotta be extra careful with any of that stuff because at the end of the day they'd be responsible for it, right?
Right. I mean, because I could have denied it. Like there was no way for them to prove that the guy was a Fed that was sitting in my car.
Right.
They suspected it because of where I was, but if I showed up like nothing happened and people started acting a little funny, all I had to do was get angry and they wouldn't ask me anything anymore.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it had to be nerve-wracking. I mean, at times in general, no?
Well, while I was wearing the wire?
Yeah, or no?
Nah,
No?
no, not for me anyway.
Yeah,
I wasn't suspected of doing anything. So
right. Yeah, I think people might be confused or on how good the devices and technology and stuff that they have. I mean, this isn't something anybody's gonna find on there. So unless they really have like a beat on somebody or some reason to suspect that, that's something
yeah,
that's never even gonna come up.
and they I mean, for the most part, I had the device in my pocket. So what are you gonna do? Go in my pocket?
Yeah, right. Exactly. At that point, you just crack somebody and it's fucking over with. No?
Exactly. And then they're not gonna find it anyway because it's just gonna be something, an everyday thing in my pocket. Key
Right.
fob, a pen, whatever.
Do you know of any stories of anybody like accidentally like getting caught or anything like that in a situation like that? I was trying to think. I
I
can't.
do know. I do know a story of a guy came in for a meeting by Bobby's Cafe, and uh, he had left his pen there, and he lived kind of far, and he turned around, came back to get his pen, and then they found out later on that the guy was cooperating. So
Oh yeah.
they realized that the guy had the device in his pen.
Oh shit. Do you know who that guy was? You know the guy?
Some zip, I don't know. It was
Really?
on. It was on one of the guys on, I believe, this guy Jack Valente's case. He was the guy that hung out by Bobby's. He lived around the corner.
So what wound up happening with that guy? Do you know or no?
He got locked up, and so when they got locked up, that's when the information came out that that guy was cooperating, and then they realized why he came back for his pen.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's probably that'd probably give it away right there. The guy's worried about picking up his fucking pen, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fucking nuts. Huh? Oh. Hey, if you want, hey, Hal, read this question real quick. The wife needs something real quick. Hold on a second. Sorry. Can you see it?
Question, Howie. When you did big scores with a few guys, did they try to screw you out of your take, or was everyone on top? Nah, I was always on top of the take, and the person or who, for the most part, dealt with the fence was my partner, so I was always with him. So no one ever tried to screw me out of anything. But yeah, I apologize if I'm not. For some reason I got a headache tonight, and racking my brain trying to get years exact and exactly who was there or what was said. It gave me a headache because I don't like to guess. I don't like to just say something just to say it. Like, I want to know that I'm right 100%. I don't want anyone to be able to say that I lied about something in the future. So it kind of gave me a headache racking my brain with questions that I wasn't expecting.
Sorry about that, man. I threw a wrench in the plans.
No, it's not. No, I just I don't know. I just feel like kind of like cranky tonight. Tired.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We all been there before. And especially, when you come on here too, that people are going to be listening and come back and say, "Oh, he was wrong about this," or "He said something else before."
Right. So I take questions seriously, and I'm racking my, I'm trying to fucking concentrate and trying to remember, and it gave me a headache.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I'm sure the people that had the few questions that wanted to, hear what you had to say about it, appreciate it. They followed up after the show that we did and had a couple of questions they wanted to ask you. So hopefully you cleared that up and you were able to answer what they wanted on there. So Mustache Pete, what's going on, man? How's it going, Armand?
What's up, Armand?
Happy Easter to you and the family, man. He said his kids woke up with the strep. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Damn, it seems like that's going around. I think that's what Smoke had too. I think he had strep throat or something like that.
Yeah, maybe I'm getting something because now I got a headache. I feel like I don't know. I just feel cranky.
No, it's all good. Yeah, if you don't have anything else, if you want to jump off or whatever, get some rest or whatever, no worries. Appreciate you coming on. It's probably bullshit for a little bit or whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump down. I got a headache. Yeah, maybe next time I'll be a little bit more able to tell some stories with some what's the word I'm looking for? With some
enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. There you go.
Yeah. Well, listen, get some rest, man. Get a couple Advils going. Get a little nap in, a little bit of sleep or whatever. Maybe you're coming down with something. It's, shit's going around right now with the weather changes and whatnot.
Maybe. Yeah. But good night, everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed their Easter, and I'll talk to you later, Common.
All right, Howie. Sounds good, man. Get some rest. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right.
All right. Thanks for coming on, bud.
All right.
All right. Bye. All right, guys. Well, Howie came on. Hopefully, he answered a couple questions that people had with the changing of the weather and everything that's going on. Possibly he's coming down with something. I can understand how he's feeling. So, well, we could hang out for a little bit and bullshit. If anybody wants to hop on and hang out, I'll drop the link in the chat, and we can hang out for a little bit. I don't got much going on, so if anybody else wants to talk about anything else from any of the shows previously, or just wants to hang out for a little bit, Carlos want to pop on, or I don't know, Ruben wanted to stop on, or whoever the fuck. I did want to follow up on let me try to see if I can pull up my comments. I wanted to follow up on something that I spoke about the other day, and hopefully I'll be able to explain it a little bit better. I hate going back and forth with people in the chats or in the comments. I feel like a lunatic when I'm in there typing like a 2-page response to somebody's post or whatever. But I guess sometimes you just want to get your point across and want to put it out there. So, someone grab the link. Yeah. And if anybody would, thanks for everybody being here tonight. Happy Easter to you and your families, everybody. If anybody would like to help support the show, if you haven't subscribed already, if you want to hit the like button. And if anybody does want to help support the channel, I got the Cash App, Venmo, PayPal at the bottom of the ticker, and it's much appreciated, guys. Thank you. Ruben, what's going on, man?
My bad about that. It wouldn't fucking close, man. I was like, click off, bitch.
What's that?
I thought maybe because I had two things open.
Oh, you're on the audio?
Yeah.
No, I'm still dealing with this stupid fucking audio thing. I had to do an iOS update on my computer because I have the Adobe Photoshop that I do a lot of my my editing and graphic design stuff for, and I had to do an update. And ever since I did that, the fucking StreamYard started acting up all of a sudden, and it's playing feedback into my microphone and fucking echoing and shit. I got to keep muting my end when people are talking. It's fucking annoying.
It was doing that real bad the other night.
Yeah, I know. That was part of the reason why I took the show down, too. There was fucking feedback and audio coming back in, and then the whole thing just turned into a mess. So I just wound up taking it down because it was a nightmare. Yeah. But, yeah, those couple guys wound up coming on and hanging out for a little bit. They were cool or whatever. They were all right.
Yeah. They were true.
We had a decent conversation or whatever. So it was cool, you know?
Yeah. I enjoyed myself, you know what I'm saying? We went what from the politics to other subjects and shit, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, no, it was good. It was a little bit of variety, a little bit of everything. I know a couple people were texting me. I guess they had to pause while the live was on. They went back to watch it and it was off or whatever. And they're like hitting me up like, what the fuck happened to the show? I was trying to watch it, this and that. I felt bad, but I'm like, the whole thing was fucked up. And then there was people spamming like anti-Semitic shit and like the fucking comments and stuff like that. I'm like,
shit.
Yeah, so I didn't even want to I didn't want to leave it up or deal with any of that stuff. I'm like, I just took it down. So
right. It's a trip. Hey, that Dan dude fucking stays where I stay, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah, he's like your neighbor, basically, right?
Right, pretty much. I mean, he's like probably like 5 minutes away.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'm surprised you don't know the guy.
Right.
Yeah, Dwayne said those guys were different. They were definitely first time in the community, that's for sure. They definitely
right.
I didn't know what to expect because I never seen none of them in the chats or on the shows or anything like that. And I think they didn't know what the fuck was going on. So they turned out to be all right though.
Yeah.
They're at least like respectable and weren't trying to be like fucking too much of a bunch of knuckleheads, but it was all right.
Right. That's true.
I did what's that?
That's true. I mean, like you said, they were respectable.
Yeah. No, it was straight. I don't mind, like I said, I don't mind anybody coming on, wants to have a conversation and then chop it up or whatever, as long as you're respectable. We can agree to disagree, and I'm cool with that. You got to be careful letting, random people coming on here because you don't know what the fuck you're going to get, unfortunately, on the internet.
Right.
So
100%.
I did want to just respond because when you were on the show the other day, I know Danny had she was making a comment. She was concerned about, possibly with the war and stuff going on right now that her son could get drafted or whatever. And I did want to clarify something. I guess I did look it up afterwards. And I guess if you are an only child, that doesn't save you from getting drafted. It's only if you're the sole surviving son that you can get exonerated from it. So yeah,
right,
if you have a parent or another sibling or whatever, and you're the sole survivor that can carry on that family's name, that's when you can get exempt from being drafted. But otherwise, yeah, you're pretty much at the mercy of the draft at that point.
Okay. Yeah, because I think we were thinking about that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we were 100% sure on that.
Yeah, I wasn't positive either. I wasn't sure myself, so I wound up looking at it afterwards and
Good deal. Yeah, it's
and
good to know,
double-check.
though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I was hoping maybe I can, help her out and put her at ease that wouldn't happen, but apparently that's not the case. So it's
Right.
unfortunate if they do it, but it is what it is.
See
Well,
that,
listen,
Lord, here they come.
I understand where she's coming from. Being a mother and that's your only son, only child, or whatever the case may be, is probably a little bit nerve-wracking. But unfortunately, it is what it is at the same time. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I did want to clear up one thing because I got a post follow-up from something somebody said. It was actually a comment that she had made about they were basically saying that they didn't believe that, the U.S. should get involved in affairs on foreign soil because of the separation of the church and state or whatever. And I was basically, what I wanted to, kind of explain in detail or further was to explain to people that, the philosophy and the idea behind the separation of church and state that our forefathers laid out when they did the Constitution and everything. You have to remember that when they came to this country, they were fleeing, religious persecution in England, where the place that they came from. And so when they set up the Constitution and they separated from England and they set up the separation of church and state, it wasn't just for the fact that they didn't want the government to be involved in any one particular, religious denomination or religious sect. They wanted to provide the right for people to practice whatever religion that they wanted, regardless if you were, a Christian or if you were Jewish or a Muslim, whatever the case may be. But you also have to remember that with that separation of church and state comes the other part of the Constitution, which gives our government and the people the right to defend people who do want to practice their religions. And a lot of the reason that we're involved in the conflict with Iran right now is because we're protecting Israel's right to defend themselves and their religion against persecution by the neighboring countries there that want to fucking exterminate them, So when you look at it and you say, yeah, there's a separation of church and state, yeah, that's true. But also the caveat to it, and the second part of it, is that we defend people's rights to practice whatever religion they want. And we don't persecute people for those religious beliefs that they have. And we believe that people have a right to practice and worship whoever they want, regardless of what their faith is or religious background. So,
Right.
So yeah, I just wanted to get that point across. So something maybe I didn't clarify when we were talking the other day, and
Right.
hopefully that answered some of the question that she had on there. What's going on, man? Oh, Scott, what's going on, man? How you doing, buddy?
Chilling. I missed that. So, excuse me. My only son, he can be drafted because I have nieces and nephews, so the family can be carried on, right?
Yeah, it's only the sole
All right.
surviving son. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, you have sisters or brothers?
I got brothers. Yeah, there's 8 of us.
Oh, yeah, no. So they wouldn't be exempt from it, no.
I mean, just like religion, government was written back in 1775, or how's that? Like, I mean, don't we have to update laws to change with the times a little bit, though, too? Isn't that logical?
In regards to what?
Like things that were, I mean, granted, church and state is a good idea, but antiquated, like, verbiage and amendments and the Constitution, some of it doesn't translate or doesn't, work through the modern times. Am I saying that logically, or
I don't know. What are you trying to get at? No, I'm confused.
like some of our the amendments are antiquated, or don't really work with modern times or in present times.
Which ones?
Shit.
or just give me one? Give us two.
Our Constitution's pretty solid. It's one of the greatest pieces of fucking
It's
legislative doctrines ever written. It's been 250 years. I mean, it's pretty solid.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
think
been
Constitution's
ratified a
fair.
few times and changed over time, but I mean, I don't know what they would really need to update or change about it in regards to that.
No, I think you're right. I mean, like some of the amendments.
Are you talking about like free speech?
Yeah, I mean, we need free speech.
So like free speech is free speech, but it's not really free speech. It's actually speech until you break the law. You know what I mean? Then it's no longer free, right?
It's protected speech.
Protected. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I was trying to figure out that word.
Yeah, and they're not gonna be. I agree with Dave. They're not gonna be implementing the draft, and for all these people, like I've been watching a lot of these, interviews and people that are going on a lot of these other podcasts. Obviously, it's a huge topic that's going on right now, and I've been watching one or two of these guys that are platforming. Have you seen the guy? He's like a professor in Iran, in Tehran. That Professor Marandi guy or whatever his name is. Bro, this guy is I can't stand that guy, man. He's got to be the biggest propaganda puppet I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Right.
Yeah, I did see that post. I loved it. I thought it was fucking great. Did you guys see that? I put it up on my community post. Trump made he made a post on Truth Social earlier today. It was fucking great, man. I'll read it to you. Listen to what he said. This was Trump's post from this morning. He said, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day all wrapped up in one, Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Then he trolls him and tells him, praise be to Allah. That gotta be the most savage gangster shit ever said by the fucking president. I don't give two fucks about what he's saying on there. I think it's great. Listen, here's the bottom line. Basically what he's saying is he's telling them, when he says, open up the strait, you crazy bastards, he's telling them, like, guys, what's wrong with you? Why can't we come up with a negotiation? Let's make a deal. You guys want to continue us fucking leveling and taking out everything else in the country because you guys want to play fucking hardball right now? Why don't you just be reasonable people, come to the table and work out a deal so we can straighten this shit out? But no, you guys got to be a bunch of fucking radical, fundamental jihadists that want to carry out your fucking, religious will and fucking cause terrorist chaos in the fucking region and shit to try to drag this fucking thing out. Because what? Because these guys are fucking nuts. So I have no problem with them posting that, and fuck them. I hope they blow up the whole goddamn fucking country. I don't want them killing like civilians or nothing like that, but if they got to get rid of fucking bridges and fucking power plants and whatever the fuck else they got to give to bring these people to their fucking knees to get on board, good riddance. Imagine the people that lose children to the guys' war and you're laughing like it's a joke. Well, Unknown Trader, why don't you grab the link? I'd love to have this debate with you or with anyone else that wants to come on, and we could hear what you have to say, and then you can hear what I have to say. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the children, the children and the women that are going to lose their lives due to this fucking war. What, you think that these people care about women and children? They send their own children out with suicide fucking vests on and shit and go and blow up fucking people to carry out their fucking jihad. The last time that they were in a war, when they were over in what? I think it was Lebanon or in Turkey, and they had to clear minefields. They went and put fucking religious necklaces on these children that were ages between 9 and 16 years old and had them walking across minefields to clear it for their artillery and tanks to walk through. They killed 40,000 of their own people, their own children. Okay? So don't sit here and tell me that people are losing children and we're over here laughing about it. Nobody's laughing about anybody's children getting killed. That's the most asinine shit I've ever heard of in my life. Not to mention the fact that, let's talk about what was said earlier by this Professor Marandi guy, the fucking Iranian puppet master of propaganda over there, okay? Let me tell you something. This guy's on here right now, right? And he's claiming that Israel and the United States are carrying out a genocide in Iran right now and across the Middle East. A genocide? A couple fucking hundred people or a couple thousand people is a genocide? A country of 100 million people, and they're carrying out a genocide. If we were carrying out a genocide, we'd go in there and drop fucking nuclear bombs on the whole fucking country and level the place off the face of the earth. That would be a genocide. That would be genocide, my friend. We're not carrying out a genocide right now. We're bombing infrastructure and Iran's ability to fire off missiles and drones at neighboring countries and the civilian population in Israel. What, you don't think that the Iranians are trying to kill women and children in Israel right now? You really believe that? Their doctrine, okay, in the Quran, their hadiths, that's what they claim is their holy duty, says that anybody that's not a Muslim, you're supposed to find them and slit their throats. Do you know that? That's what they believe. They believe that if you're not a Muslim, then you should be killed, exterminated. That's the belief of these people. And you want to say that we're over there carrying out a fucking genocide? No. They would be out there carrying out a genocide right now if we didn't support the Israeli people and the Jews out in the Middle East right now. They'd be carrying out a genocide. What do you think would happen tomorrow if the United States said, hey, Israel, we're not going to help you or defend you so you guys can live in fucking peace in the Middle East right now? They'd be getting bombed tomorrow by these fucking fanatical, radical fucking Islamists out there. These fucking Muslim Brotherhood fucking pieces of shit. I got no fucking sympathy for none of these people.
Did you see his last comment? His last comment was like, "Oh, you know, the United States don't care about women and children because we got Trump." Come on, unknown. That's just an asinine fucking thing to say. You know what I'm saying? Like because of Trump, all of a sudden people don't care about women and children.
No, we're the Israel and the United States are the countries that do care about women and children. That's why we're in there right now trying to take down a regime that will murder their own women and their own children, like they did back in January because they were having protests. They killed 40,000 of their own civilians because they were out there peacefully protesting against the economic toil that's in the country right now because they're led by a bunch of fucking radical Islamic jihadists out there that are a theocratic dictatorship that persecute their own fucking people and kill their own people if they think that their reign is being threatened out there. And you want to talk about we don't care about women or children? I heard these people before say this is the APEC. What did they say? This is the war is APEC fury. This is the war against the Epstein class. The Epstein class? You mean the country Iran? The Shia Muslims that practice Sharia law, that's profit, who they'll carry out suicide bombing attacks for and carry out terrorist attacks for and blow themselves up and do roadside bombs and all that shit, whose wife was a 6-year-old girl when he was 50 years old, that consummated the marriage when she was 9, and that's the person that they think was God, the all-knowing, lived his righteous life and was holy. The Sharia law allows these people for 9-year-old children, as long as they have signs of maturity, meaning that as soon as a girl is able to have her menstrual cycle or she starts growing breasts, means that she's at full maturity, which could be as a girl as young as 8, 9, 10 years old. That's what they practice, Sharia law. And you know what their hadith say, their Quran says, is that they're supposed to inhabit the earth, to spread that across the whole globe. And you have a problem with what we're doing right now because we don't want them to obtain nuclear weapons or ballistic missiles that they could put warheads on that they could use against our allies in the fucking Middle East. What are we talking about here?
I'm glad you touched on that.
Unknown trader, how do you know that, you know, I stay in California, you know what I mean? So you're talking about, you know, the kids and stuff like that are in this country that are, you know, hungry and this and that. I know there's programs in California, not just programs, individuals that try to go out and find these children and homeless people and try to help them out. You know what I'm saying? But how about Mexico? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to say something about, like, you know, Mexico, you know what I'm saying? They did not used to have a list of missing women and children for like the longest time. You know what I'm saying? Like many fucking years. I think it's like maybe 10 years ago, they came up with the femicide thing because they didn't know what to call it because there were so many fucking women and girls missing from, like, say, Juarez and shit. And then it wasn't just Juarez. There's a gang of fucking states in Mexico. So don't give me the bullshit that we don't fucking care. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we fucking care because we're not fucking out killing our fucking women and children, girls and stuff like that. And if we are, we're getting them and arresting them and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's more like I say that, you know, they're doing for any other countries.
I don't listen. I don't understand the philosophy and ideology or worldview that these people have. They'll come in here and they'll make a comment about, what about the women and children that are starving on the streets in this country? Are we concerned about them? Of course we're concerned about them. We have nonprofit groups and we give aid to homelessness to try to cure and fight these problems. But what happens is you have a bunch of corrupt politicians and other groups that go in and abuse these policies and these government aids and these programs and shit to line their own fucking pockets. And as soon as something doesn't fit their narrative or what their party or leadership wants them to come out and speak about and do, all of a sudden they'll start pointing out to some shit that's happening somewhere else in the world and start pointing fingers at fucking people. I mean, what are we talking about right now? You think Iran cares about women and children? You do understand in these countries, women are treated like cattle, right? And children aren't much further behind. And let me tell you something. I'll give you something to look into. So they claimed recently at the start of the war, I think it was on January 25th or 28th or something like that, when that school in Iran allegedly got blown up, that was sitting on the same piece of property as 6 other buildings that were all part of the infrastructure for the IRGC and the Besieged, right? Which is their fucking local terrorist wing of the IRGC and their party that they control to kill people. Those are the people that killed the 40,000 protesters at the beginning of January, right? Now, they claim that we bombed a school, and all you hear them talking about is these 100-something children, little girls ages 7 to 12 that got killed in this airstrike or whatever. That was obviously done by accident, okay? When you're in war and you're in a military conflict, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be accidents. People are going to lose their lives. People are going to die, and that's unfortunate. No, you can't tell me right now that we intentionally went in and blew up a school full of fucking children. But I can promise you one thing, that those Iranians will fucking do it. They'll fucking do it in a heartbeat. They've done it before. They'll continue to do it. They're shooting off cluster munitions right now into Tel Aviv and to Israel, which are against the law, by the way. Why isn't anybody talking about them using cluster munitions in civilian populations in cities and shit that are hitting apartment buildings, schools? They've been bombing airports. They've been bombing hospitals and all this stuff. Like, what are we talking about right now?
Didn't they gas the Iraqis too? Or was it the Iraqis who gassed the Iranians?
Yeah. Listen, these people carry out domestic terrorism on their own fucking people. And we're over here talking about we don't want to help support or defend the people that are in Israel right now. Guys, I can't say this enough. What do you think would happen tonight if we told the people in the Middle East and Israel that we're not going to defend you and we're not going to help you? What do you think would happen to Israel tomorrow? I can tell you what will happen. You're going to get fucking Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the Iranians and all their other proxies to go in and wipe Israel off the face of the map. They'll be invading them tomorrow.
But then who's going to care about the women and children right there?
Yeah. What happened on October 7th when Hamas went in and paratrooped into that festival and they started kidnapping the women and children and girls that they said, I forget the exact word they for, but the Hamas fighters or whatever that went in there and paratrooped in there and started taking hostages, which, by the way, in their religion, in their Quran, right? Kidnapping and taking hostages is supposed to be haram. Okay. That's not halal. That's haram. That's a sin. That's a mortal sin. But what does it say? What does it say that Muhammad and these guys did in their Quran? They took hostages. They kidnapped people. The same thing that Hamas did when they flew into Israel on October 7th and carried out terrorist acts where they killed 1,300 innocent people at a festival, including women and children, some of which they took for their own captives that they were calling beautiful and talking about how attractive they are. What do you think that those Hamas soldiers did to all those Jewish women, children? Some of them were from, I believe, Pakistan. Some of them were from other places in the Middle East that were all victims that were out there hanging out, enjoying themselves. I believe some were Americans. What do you have to say about that stuff? Do you think that they care about women and children? The Hamas, Hezbollah, the proxies that are out there that are in Palestine and Lebanon and all these other places, they use civilian infrastructure, apartment buildings, hospitals, airports, places like that to use them as weapons caches and have tunnel systems in there so they can carry out terrorist activities and attacks against the people. and they're a bunch of fucking cowards that hide behind women and children that use them as fucking shields whenever they see fit. And you want to sit here and you want
Right.
to talk about Israel and the United States wants to kill women and children? That's one of the
They did
most
this-
ignorant fucking things that I've ever heard in my goddamn life. And it's a shame that people are actually repeating this stuff and saying it. It's fucking absurd, man. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah,
And I gotta ask you,
I get it if you don't like Trump. Go ahead.
this has nothing to do with Donald Trump, man.
That's what I'm
This
saying.
has literally nothing to do with Donald Trump. Just other than the fact
Right.
that he's the president at this point in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
We've defended Israel since 1948. We were the first nation in the entire world that recognized Israel as a state in 1948. The first ones. Now they want us to turn around and what? Turn our backs on the greatest ally that we have out in the Middle East. Why? For what reason? Because they think that everybody in Israel is a bunch of what do they call them? Zionists and fucking and global terrorists or whatever. Well, maybe if they weren't constantly getting threatened to get eradicated off the face of the planet, they wouldn't have to go out and carry out covert operations and infiltrate these governments and these countries to try to secure the peace for themselves to live over there.
Right.
What the fuck? He says 290 million was made on one scam on the Trump phone. Where's that money? Does the president deserve to have money that was taken from his cult members? Listen, I don't know much or anything about that, and I'm not even talking about that or discussing that right now. You're jumping from topic to topic, subject to subject, trying to just bring up nonsense and bullshit. We're talking about the military action and what some people are calling the war in Iran right now. And you're going from talking about women and children to talking about some type of fucking phone scam or some crap like that these days. I mean, what the fuck are we talking about right now? It's crazy. Good. You should move to Spain. See how it works out for you. If they're gonna get kicked out of NATO, what do you think Putin's gonna do over in Europe and shit? When you already saw what he did in Ukraine, and this is one of the most ironic and ridiculous things that I've ever heard of in my life. Think about this, right? I'm curious to know, unknown trader. What do you think about the war going on right now in Ukraine with Russia? Do you think that we should be giving them military aid? Do you think we should be giving them defensive weapons? What about the billions of dollars that we've been sending to Ukraine? Do you have a problem with that right now? I'm curious. I'd like to know the answer to that. How do you feel about Ukraine right now and the aid and help that we've been providing them? Do you think that that's right? Yes or no?
Well, let me ask you this too. Are you okay? So the MAGA regime is destroying our country. How many years has he been president?
Who?
1 and change.
Oh, Trump?
1 and change, huh? Yeah.
A year and a half.
So a year and a half?
Not even.
It's destroyed the country. What happened 4 years before that? I'm sorry, bro.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, what Biden did while he was in office was a goddamn shame. Goddamn fucking shame. They're turning around. And this is the funniest thing, right? They sit here when somebody runs for political office, right? And they make promises and they tell you what they're going to try to achieve during their presidency if they get elected. And Trump comes out and he makes a promise that says that he wants to get out of these forever wars. He doesn't want to start any new wars and all this. Mm-hmm. They turn around and they point to the military action going on in Iran right now. Well, guess what wasn't happening prior to Trump getting into office? They weren't aware of the nuclear capabilities and the ballistic missile program and the shit that Iran was doing at that time. And then when you get intelligence and information comes across your desk and you have to take action on it, otherwise you're going to get a potentially nuclear armed enemy of the state. What are you supposed to do? Just sit back and let them fucking obtain the nuclear weapons like what happened in North Korea?
Right. Look, I get you're saying, you're not defending Biden, you're not talking about what happened yesterday, but unfortunately in this situation, whereas Trump is president, you know what I mean? You do have to deal with fucking yesterday's bullshit and the shit that fucking Biden left, you know what I'm saying? Because let me ask you this, in the first 4 years that fucking Trump was president, how many wars happened? None. Thank you. Next question.
0. There was no wars in the whole 4 years that he was in office. And what happened the minute that he got out of office?
Wars.
Russia invaded Ukraine. And I asked you this question a minute ago. I want you to tell me, do you support the United States providing military defensive weapons, fighter jets, military aid, and money to Ukraine? Yes or no? Please answer that. In the meantime, I want to make a comment regarding, I believe, this right here. The Quran is not a no-nonsense book. It is a holy book equivalent to the Bible. Well, listen, at the end of the day, the Quran, the Torah, and the Bible, they all worship the same God. They just believe in different prophets. I don't think people understand that at the end of the day. The people, the people in the Muslim and Islamic faith, all are descended from the same person, from Abraham. They just believe that their prophets came from a different line, and some of their prophets are obviously respected and looked up to, and the other ones that are, whether you're a Christian and you read the Bible and you believe that Jesus was the Messiah and he was the prophet, or you believe that it was Muhammad if you're Muslim and the Islam faith, that's up for dispute. I'm not going to sit here and say whether or not another religion is right or another religion is wrong. I believe in what I believe in at the end of the day, and I'm not going to hold anybody else responsible for their faith or for their belief. At the end of the day, it's all the same God. At the end of the day, it's just different prophets. However, the current people that are running Iran right now, the Shia Muslims, they don't even get along with the Sunni Muslims that take up a majority of the other countries across the Middle East. They don't even agree on that, okay? Second of all, these guys have hijacked the Quran and have used their own interpretation of what their holy book and hadith say in order to carry out their will onto their own people. And they also use that book in order to control, manipulate, and bring fear and bring terror into their own countries and against their own people in order to stay and remain in power right now. So I don't want to sit up here and have somebody argue with me and talk about, women and children dying and we're fighting against the Epstein class when it's the same people and the same regime and the same government that openly adopts Sharia law and believes that as long as a girl has shown signs of maturity, being as young as 9 years old, can get legally married to a grown-ass fucking man. And for you to sit here and tell me that they're fighting against the Epstein class when the reality is that they're the ones that should be part of the fucking Epstein class. Nobody, and myself, and I'm sure these guys can speak for themselves, agrees with anything that scumbag animal fucking Jeffrey Epstein did. And at the end of the day, by him carrying out those acts against children to the people that are actually practicing Jews, that's haram. You're not supposed, that's sin. Haram is sin, okay? That goes against God. None of those people that were in any of them Epstein files, the Jews or whatever, are practicing faith-believing fucking Jews, because otherwise they wouldn't be doing any of the shit that they were doing. And they're a fucking disgrace and a bunch of animals, okay? So don't sit here and turn that around and then try to say that they're fighting a war against the Epstein class. One of the most ridiculous, ignorant things I've ever heard of in my fucking life. Oh, and Jane, I don't know if you got my response. I'm having a problem getting and receiving messages on the YouTube there. And if I post a message or I try to edit it or say something about it and I try to pull it back up, they're not showing up and they're disappearing. But I responded to the post that you made in response to the one that I posted regarding a little history lesson on what happened to all the nations and all the countries and governments that have gone after the Jews. What's happened to every single one of them? They've all fallen. Every single one of them. And my point is that now you guys want to turn around and ignore history and you want to ignore the scriptures and the religion and the prophecies that were laid out in the Old Testament, in the Bible, and in the Quran, and turn around and disregard all of that. And you want the United States to turn around and make the same mistakes that all the other countries that went against the Jews and Israel fell to. Because what the fuck do you think would happen? I could tell you my belief. I think I know what would happen. We'd wind up like the Roman Empire if we did that.
Unknown Trader says, that's what the Constitution says. Donald Trump, separation church state. Donald Trump is persecuting a whole religion because of a few people he don't like.
No. See, I was talking about this earlier, so I'm going to explain this to you. The Constitution, okay, separates the powers of the church and state, okay? Which means that all that's saying is that they don't want to have religion instilled into our government, okay? They want to have a separation of powers. They don't want the government to be influenced or affected by religion. And it also, the rest of the Constitution talks about how it gives people the right to practice and believe in whatever religion they want without fear of being persecuted. Why? Because the forefathers that founded this country fled England against religious persecution. So when they established the United States, they wanted to make sure that we weren't hypocrites and did the same thing that England did to them, causing them to flee their homeland to start the United States. And you're getting something very confused about what the Constitution says in regard of the separation of church and state. Yeah, there's a separation of church and state, meaning that you can't have religion influence inside of schools. They have to be separate. You can't have religion inside of governments. Those have to be separate. But like I said, it also defends people's rights to practice whatever religion that they want. Okay? So now you're asking us to disregard our Constitution for our domestic foreign policy, to not defend the Jewish people from practicing their religion and defending themselves. You want us to say, fuck all that, we don't care. But you want us to do that in this country, though. But our greatest allies in the Middle East, Israel, you want us to give them the middle finger and say, oh, no, fuck you. You guys don't have the right to exist because we don't like what's going on right now in the Middle East. Well, guess what's going on right now in the Middle East? Their neighbors in the Middle East, the Muslims, are trying to eradicate and exterminate them from existence. And if they weren't threatened on a daily basis like they are, they wouldn't have to carry out any of the missions and covert acts and espionage and all that shit that they do in all of these countries and the surrounding areas, because they wouldn't be threatened by any of them. But guess what? Those countries in their Quran tells them that if people aren't Muslims and you find these people, meaning Jews, Christians, whoever it may be, that when you find them, you are supposed to slit their throats. That's in the Quran. That's a hadith. Okay? That means that it's the will of God, that Allah commands them to do that. And you know what it also says? It also tells people in the Middle East that are Muslims that if you want to leave the Muslim religion, you are to be killed also. Did you know that? So you're going to tell me that you agree with that? Because that's basically what you're saying when you're trying to support Iran and the fucking people out there. That's what you're basically agreeing with.
I don't get, I mean, I understand like you must have some, deep-seated hatred for fucking Trump and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I just can't take you serious. You just throw that MAGA bullshit out there and think like, oh, it's the MAGA regime or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? It's like we're not all Americans or whatever the fuck.
No, and see, he makes a comment. The problem is MAGA thinks it's a troll game, and at this point, our country is the one that will lose. There are things being done right now that are irreversible. I'm just saying. Yeah, you know what's being done right now that's irreversible? The Iranian regime, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the ones that fucking overthrew the Shahs in a revolt and turned their country into complete fucking mess right now, that funds and promotes terrorism across the Middle East with all their proxy groups, is no longer going to have the ability to carry out their terrorism and their fucking bullshit across the Middle East and to hijack international waters for their own benefit and survival. You're right. That is going to be irreversible because we're not going to allow these motherfuckers a chance to ever get back to where they were before this military action started. So thank God. God bless Donald Trump. God bless America. And God bless Israel. And God bless the Jews. That's what I have to say. And you'll find something funny is that, you can't, for all the people that think that the shit that's going on in like Palestine right now is an issue where the Jews go after them. The Palestinians are the people that live in Israel. There's fucking 2 million Arab Palestinians that live in Israel. You know who can't live or live in fucking Palestine? You're not going to see any of the Jews being accepted over in Palestine right now, are you? But the other way around, they have the same rights in Israel that the Jewish people do or the Christians do. Do you know that the Arab Muslims and those people actually hold positions in the government and in the Supreme Court and have the same rights as everybody else that lives in Israel? Why don't you talk about those facts? And if you have such a problem with what's going on in Palestine right now, why don't you ask all the other Arab nations across the Middle East why none of them will take the Palestinians in? Why not? Explain that to me. I'd love to know. I hate going back and forth in the chat. If you want to just keep leaving comments that I have no problem responding to, but you're more than welcome to grab the link and join the panel because I have a reputation with anyone.
It's probably the same reason that you just keep on the MAGA bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, facetious. I think he's just, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't take it personal.
No,
I mean, it's not like
I do. Sorry, I do take this shit personal because to me, I feel motivated by coming on here to speaking about this because of the shit that I see and hear going on the fucking internet on a daily basis, and it's so ridiculous and so unsettling that I feel compelled to come on here to talk about this stuff because people are so fucking twisted and ass backwards in their thinking. It's beyond belief. And Unknown Trader, I'm gonna ask you again. No, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'll have a conversation with you. I'm not trying to argue. I'll have a conversation with anybody as long as we're being respectful. But my point is that I asked you a question 10 minutes ago, and I still haven't heard an answer unless I missed it. Do you support the United States providing military aid, defensive weapons, and offensive military weapons in Ukraine and the billions of dollars that we have sent out to Ukraine over the last 5 years and will continue to do so? Do you support that, yes or no? I'm curious. Well, yeah, that's fine. I'm glad you enjoyed the show earlier. My friend had to get off. He wasn't feeling well, and I didn't want to end the show and continue on. We're only on for about an hour or so, so I'm talking about something else I want to speak about. So I'm sorry to hear that you don't like the show or what's being discussed right now because you don't agree with it. But I'm just trying to ask you a simple question, and I just want a yes or no answer whether or not you agree or disagree with what's going on in Ukraine right now. I'm curious. And there's a reason why I'm asking you that.
So, right. I'm going to do right now to you, Unknown Trader, that you can't do for comment and answer this question about, do I think this war would happen if Trump was, in office? No. Also, I don't think the war in Russia and Ukraine would have happened if he was in office.
They would have never went into Ukraine if Trump was still in office.
No.
Never.
The Russians were just being offensive because they started popping all that nonsense about NATO, which was the red line since, 2010 or something with Russia. Not, having NATO in Ukraine.
Yeah, no, Unknown Trader, I'm not getting angry. There's a difference. I'm aggravated.
Civil.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm agreeing. I'm saying I'm aggravated. I'm not angry. Just so you can hear it out of my mouth. And I'm not interested in arguing with anybody. I'm interested in having conversations about it so I can hear your opinion and where you're coming from, and then I can respond to it. Because at the end of the day, I just asked a simple question now 3 times. I just want a yes or no, and there's a reason why I'm asking you that. Let's be under the assumption that you do support us providing aid, defensive weapons, military equipment, and money to Ukraine right now, right? Let's say you don't agree with that because you don't agree with us doing it to Israel right now, right? Now, the last time I checked, the United States and Israel wasn't putting ground troops on the ground in Iran, trying to take over their land, to kill their people and plant their flags on there to take their homes and their properties. The last time I checked, right? So how can you have an issue with what we're doing right now with Israel carrying out military actions, but then you'll turn around and either you do have an issue with what's going on with the support in Ukraine, or you don't have an issue with going on in Ukraine. At the end of the day, what Russia is doing in Ukraine is far worse than anything we're doing right now in Iran. Can you at least agree with that? And guys, if you haven't already, if you guys do enjoy this content, please hit that like button. After the show ends, if you guys wouldn't mind making any comments, it helps with the algorithm and everything like that, getting it out there. I do appreciate everybody that does that. And if anybody would like to help support this channel, it will be much appreciated. I got the Cash App, Venmo, PayPal at the bottom of the ticker. Thank you to everybody who's here with us tonight. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. If anybody has anything they want to add to it, anybody wants to come on panel, please put it in the chat. You're more than welcome to come up here or to have a conversation back and forth from the chat if need be. What were we saying, Scott?
People forget about the axis of evil. North Korea, Iran, and was it Russia? Like this stuff has been going on for years.
Yeah, in China.
China.
Oh, listen. I'll agree with you guys completely that all the shit that's going on in Ukraine right now, they have billions of dollars that are missing and unaccounted for that they claim they don't know where the fucking money went. Well, I got a good idea where a lot of the money went. I can guarantee you that a lot of those people that are in the government right now are all pocketing it away, sending it out to Swiss bank accounts and anywhere else that they can abroad, probably buying crypto and who else knows fucking what. But that's my whole point, though, is that people have an issue with our support for our greatest ally in the Middle East with Israel. But then when you turn around and you ask them something about Ukraine, whether they're for it or they're for against it, makes no sense. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. Because the same thing that's going on there right now is far worse than anything that's going on in Iran right now with what Russia's doing. And now you have, like, Unknown Trader made a comment that he's going to move to Spain soon. Why? Because Spain doesn't want to help the United States or let us use any of their military bases or airspace to carry out any of our military actions right now. Well, what do you think's going to happen if we back out of NATO? We don't need any of those countries for help. What Donald Trump was doing with the Strait of Hormuz when he asked those countries that are our allies in Europe to come and help us to straighten out the problem, that was all a test. Okay? That was a test. If you think Donald Trump is stupid, I don't know what to tell you. The guy's far from stupid. I can promise you that one thing. And everything that he does is strategic. And he's proven a point right now. We provide NATO and all of our allies and countries that are in Europe right now with billions upon billions, if not trillions of dollars over the last X amount of time since NATO was formed, including providing military defensive weapons, missile systems. Why? So none of those countries get exactly what Ukraine's getting right now with Russia. And why did Vladimir Putin and the Russians claim that they invaded Ukraine? They claimed they invaded Ukraine because Ukraine was going to join NATO, and they didn't want the U.S. to be able to station any of their bases or missile defense systems or missiles on the borders with Russia right now. So what do you think is going to happen if we back out of NATO to all those European countries? Guess who's going to be on their own? And you think Putin, the minute he finds out that the U.S. is no longer in NATO, that any of those other countries are going to come over there and rescue the next country that Putin decides to invade over there? Good luck. Good luck. So if anybody's starting World War III right now, it ain't the United States. It's these fucking stupid countries that are supposedly supposed to be our allies that we've helped for so long whenever they've had a potential problem that they needed our help with. Because like I said, it's not the other way around. Just like Israel, for all the people that think that Bibi Netanyahu and Israel controls the United States, you have it completely backwards. We control Israel. Without the money that we provide Israel, without the military and defensive weapons and missile systems that we provide them, Israel would cease to exist.
It's all propaganda.
Yeah. So if you think that Israel can con or hoodwink the United States into doing something, you're out of your mind. If you go back and you remember what happened, we talked about it a little while ago regarding October 7th. What was the first thing that happened after that incident occurred? Biden was in Israel the next day talking to Bibi Netanyahu. And he told Bibi Netanyahu for the next 4 months, you better stop carrying out whatever military actions and response that you want to have. And guess what Israel did? They shut the fuck up and sat there like good little boys because we told them to. Because they know that if we aren't going to support what they're doing, they are fucked.
Right.
Completely fucked. And Israel knows that, which is why they'll never do or say anything that goes against us, because they understand that we're their lifeline. We're the big brother. We protect them. They're the little brother. It's not the other way around. I even heard somebody, I don't know if it was Unknown Trader or if it was Jane Creek. Somebody had made a comment regarding the
Have a good
fact
night,
that, what's that?
Unknown Trader said good night.
Yeah, that was the second time.
Oh,
He ain't going nowhere.
All right, yeah, good night. Sorry, what was I saying? I got distracted about.
Jane.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Jane or if it was Unknown Trader, but somebody had made a comment and they brought up this whole crap where they were trying to, and if it's not one of you guys, my apologies, but you guys have been pretty active in the comment section, so I want to make sure I got this right. If I'm wrong, my apologies in advance. But somebody said this. I thought it was one of you. If I'm wrong, my apologies. They had made a comment where they were pointing some video or some content where they claimed that Israel was the ones that were responsible for getting us involved in the Iraq War and lied to us about Saddam Hussein and his weapons of mass destruction from intelligence, because once again we were carrying out the will of Israel and what Bibi Netanyahu wanted. I said this on the last show, but I'll say it again for the people that didn't catch it, because I had to take it down. If you weren't on the live, you probably didn't hear it. Israel at the time, first of all, Netanyahu, when 9/11 happened, before the invasion of Iraq, Netanyahu wasn't the prime minister. The prime minister of Israel was Ariel Sharon, okay? It wasn't Netanyahu, it was Ariel Sharon. And they were directly opposed to the United States going into Iraq because they said that that was the wrong enemy, and the real enemy and people that we had to worry about was Iran. And they were right. Now, the only reason publicly that they didn't go against what the United States was doing and carrying out the war in Iraq was because they can't. What are they going to do? Come out globally and say, oh, we're not going to support our allies in the Middle East and look like we're having tension with Israel? So, of course, they went along with it. They have no choice because we run the show. As I said before, it's not the other way around. And somebody had made a comment. Oh, maybe it was Handstand, actually. I think Handstand was the one that was saying this. Handstand was saying, well, how come Israel never helped us with the war in Iraq or the war in Afghanistan and never put boots on the ground or did anything like that? Israel helped us carry out intelligence. They helped us carry out airstrikes. They help us carry out defense and missile defense and the systems and stuff that we share with them. So they might not technically have put boots on the ground. We didn't need them to. How long did the actual war in Iraq last? Now, I'm not talking about the occupation of it. I'm not talking about the occupation of it. And everybody can agree, including myself, that the war in Iraq was a huge mistake. But the fact of the matter is that people right now are doing shows and they're repeating the same line of bullshit, saying that this is going to be no different than the war in Iraq, where we lied about the weapons of mass destruction in order to invade the country of Iran. These poor innocent people have done nothing wrong. Look what we're doing right now. And we're going to wind up doing the same mistakes that we did when we were in Iraq for the last 20 years or whatever. And that's absolute bullshit. We've learned from our mistakes. And at the end of the day, there's been new resolutions and new legal doctrines and things that were written up in order not for us to make the same mistakes that we made in Iraq and Afghanistan. Any single time that we carry out any military actions or military strikes, we have multiple different intelligence agencies and military commanders and legal departments that look through any of these operations and strikes that we carry out abroad to make sure that not only they're ethical, but also that they're legal. So we don't make the same mistakes that we have in the past.
Iraq's a better place.
And now when people are saying weapons of mass destruction. It's the same mistake that we made in Iraq. No, it's not. Unfortunately, the mistake that we made in Iraq, whether it was due to bad intelligence or intentionally putting out bad intelligence in order to invade them for whatever military action they wanted to carry out, we've caught the Iranians red-handed, and they've openly admitted that they were enriching uranium far past the levels necessary for them to use that for civilian infrastructure for nuclear energy and nuclear power. That only needs to be enriched to 3%. So why were the Iranians enriching uranium to 60% and getting a stockpile of it? On top of that, they were using their space program in order to build up their ballistic missile capabilities so they could get rockets and missiles to shoot way further than they were even allowed or supposedly had the capability of having.
Yeah, they lied to us about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they got caught when they shot off an IRBM at a military base in the Indian Ocean. And all of a sudden, the day after, our quote-unquote allies that are in, Europe, parts of Europe, realized that the Iranians have been lying to the world about their capabilities of their missiles and their nuclear capabilities. And they realized that they actually did have missiles that could reach their cities and their countries. Now they want to all of a sudden come in and offer to give us a hand in the Strait of Hormuz and allow us to use our military bases in their countries. Now that they know that they could be directly affected. Before that day, though, oh, no, this isn't our war. We don't want to have anything to do with it. We don't want to help you guys out. That was all a test that Trump was giving these people to find out where they stood. And if our allies out there aren't going to help us in the conflict and situation that we're having right now in Iran, then when the fuck is it going to be good enough for them to come and give us a hand and help us? What? Only when they're directly threatened, then they want to come and ask us to give them a hand like Ukraine's doing? That's when it'll be good enough for them? Give me a fucking break. Seriously.
If they would have if Iran would have did Iran pretty much ran the same fucking playbook that Saddam Hussein did. You know what I mean? They let people come in. Okay, I always forget that group that comes in and they test for the fucking nuclear bullshit, whatever, right? The signs and all bullshit. If Iran would let those people do that shit, maybe they wouldn't be in this situation right now.
It would what?
Maybe they wouldn't be in this situation right now. You know what I'm saying? The group that goes in and tests for the potency of the radiations and shit like that to see if they do have actually nuclear weapons. You know what I'm saying? It was the same. It was the same thing that they did in it was the same game plan that they did. Saddam Hussein did. You know what I mean? He wouldn't let the people come in for a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? And then so it made them look guilty.
Oh, well, yeah, it was the same game that they're playing with, like the inspections and everything else like that, trying to be standoffish and not allow them to come in and do the inspection stuff that they have. Yeah. And that's why that post that Trump made earlier, that people are all like up in arms about. It's simple when you actually, understand what the message is. He's calling them crazy bastards and telling them to get their shit together because it's like, what do you want us to do? Why couldn't you just come and negotiate like reasonable, rational people? If you guys weren't trying to build up your nuclear weapons program to obtain a nuclear weapon, and you weren't trying to do anything illegal that's outside what you're allotted to and supposed to have regarding your missiles program, why won't you just let us come in there and inspect and do what needs to be done? We wouldn't have to be doing any of this shit right now.
Right.
But for some reason, these people just want to play hardball and don't want to allow us to do any of that stuff. And then when it's time for them to negotiate and sit down with us, they tell our U.S. envoys, they tell Witkoff and Kushner that they have a stockpile of 440 kilograms of enriched uranium that they still have, which is enough to build about a dozen nuclear warheads. And they said it as an open threat. And if people remember, I said this a couple of weeks ago, and they questioned me and said, well, where can I find that information? How do you know that they're not lying about this? And I told them, I said, I heard the president and the head of the Defense Department for Iran come out and openly admit it. I didn't remember what show it was on, but I knew it was said. It wasn't just what our envoys, what Witkoff and these guys were saying. The guy that was sitting down with the meeting said, yeah, I said that to Witkoff and Kushner, but they took it the wrong way, he said.
Right.
They
I don't
took it the wrong way.
I don't think that we're necessary, or maybe they're mistaken about they're not going to build these fucking big ass missiles that are going to fly from Iran over to the United States. I think more or less they're going to be the backpack. What are they called? The little football missiles, or I mean nukes. The football nukes that they can carry in a fucking backpack, take to some country or Los Angeles and do that shit like that. You know what I mean? I think that's what the United States is more or less afraid of, not the big ass fucking nuclear
Well, yeah, because
warhead.
that's a capability now and a possibility now that's going on. And if you remember back like a summer or two ago, remember they had all those drones flying over the East Coast
Right. Exactly.
that turned out to
Yeah.
be military drones. They said that they had believed that there was some nuclear weapons possibly that got picked up on their system, whatever. When that uranium and that stuff comes within, I think, like 300 meters of the surface of the ground, we have sniffers and stuff that'll sniff that stuff out in 2 seconds and send an alarm off that this is what's going on, which is
Right.
what was happening in Iran.
Right.
And some of the testing and results that they were getting back for the enrichment uranium levels were over 80%. And when the Iranians were asked about it by the original inspectors when they were letting them over there, they said that, oh, that was just an anomaly that they had, and sometimes during their processing, it can go
Right,
over
'cause
the
that happens.
certain amount or whatever, some shit like that. It was
So
completely.
then that means, if that's true, then that means you're not running your shit fucking correctly and safely. Then you shouldn't be running your shit at all.
Well, here's an interesting thing, right? So people were bringing up the fact that, for the last 30 years, Bibi Netanyahu and Israel has been telling the world that Iran is, weeks away or months away from obtaining, nuclear weapons, right? And
Right.
they're trying to say that this has been, a ploy that they've used this whole time because they've been wanting to invade Iran and take that regime out for 30 years now, since the 90s, right? Well, the only reason why Iran was never able to get to the level that they are now, that caused us to carry out the original strikes 8 months ago back in the summer when we blew up their nuclear facility, that led to the military strikes now, is because throughout those 30 years, Israel has been able to infiltrate various parts of
Right.
their government and their military that controls these nuclear facilities. And they've gone in and they've blown up nuclear sites. They've gone in and they've put in viruses, Trojans, and worms inside of their computer systems that control and operate the centrifuges at these places. You can look it up. There's an operation and a worm that they put in. It was called Stuxnet. That started, I think, in like the late 90s, early 2000s, or maybe early 2000s, mid 2000s, something like that, where they went in and they put in these worm viruses inside of their centrifuges at the nuclear facilities. And what they did is they would tell the people at the nuclear facilities, the scientists, that everything in the facility was running normally and it was all, up to par and going correctly. Meanwhile, the virus was working in the background, spinning the centrifuges out of control to the point until they blew up the nuclear facilities. Okay? So if it wasn't for all these operations and covert missions that Mossad and the Israelis carry out in these countries with their intelligence agencies and stuff that they do out there, they probably would have had this stuff back in the 90s or early 2000s or mid 2000s.
Right.
And it'd be a whole different world right now that we're living in. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that we're not going to sit back and take the chance to let the number one state sponsor of terrorism get control of a nuclear weapon that they could terrorize and control the entire Middle East and that region over, because that's exactly what they would and want to do right now. They believe they're destined from their holy books and their God commands them to do this shit. That's what their book says.
I believe that they would fucking sneak some fucking assholes over here to fucking, detonate themselves with some stupid ass shit like that.
Say it. Your thing's breaking up, bro. Say it again.
I think that they would fucking send some people, over here to detonate one of them fucking small nuclear fucking footballs and shit. You know what I'm saying? Without a doubt.
Oh, they listen, they are. You already saw after they killed that Ali Khamenei guy or whatever, the supreme leader, the Ayatollah there, all the Iranians and their little proxy groups that were going out and they were telling everybody to activate all the sleeper cells that they had abroad. Who the fuck knows what the hell these guys are trying to carry out right now domestically inside this country right now? I don't fucking know. What I do know is that we've caught hundreds of terrorists that were on the FBI's most wanted list over the last couple of years now from the fucking open border policy that the previous administration had. That I can tell you. I do know that for a fact. And I'll be damned if we got another 9/11 on this soil right now. And I'm pretty sure our government, thank God, is on top of things and they're catching these fucking people because who knows what they'll try and do or who's gonna get inspired by that shit to think that they're carrying out some jihad for their god, you know?
Or what fucking homegrown person, you know what I'm saying, is gonna get inspired and fucking turn heads.
Yeah, it could be anybody. It could be a homegrown terrorist. Look at like the kids that did the Boston Marathon bombing there, the two brothers, the Sarnav brothers or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They got fucking radicalized. The older brother got radicalized, and he radicalized the younger brother. And look at the shit that they did. I mean, who the fuck knows what these people are trying to do? But that's why I just find it ridiculous that you'll hear these people come on here and talk about, the children that died or the women that died or what happened in Palestine or whatever. Do you guys know that the official numbers of people that allegedly gotten killed in Palestine over the last X amount of years is around 70,000? Now, they're claiming that Israel is trying to carry out a cleansing and a genocide inside of Palestine or Gaza, one of the most heavily condensed populated places in the entire world, right? And they have 70,000 deaths. Now, what they don't tell you is that out of those 70,000, the people that die of natural causes, the people that die from the military conflict, and everything else in between all get put under that same umbrella. They don't delineate between who died of natural causes or who died from military action or anything else like that. It's all under the same umbrella. So it's really one for one, basically. For every death you have that was caused by, war or bombings or anything like that, is one of the other people died of natural causes or from,
That's the propaganda machine. That's the propaganda machine, man.
I know. Unknown Traders Beans. Oh, all right. I know who you are. I thought that was you, but I just wasn't sure. I was confused. But I know who I'm talking. That's Handstand. That's Santini's brother right there.
Unknown Trader?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that you were just as radical as Handstand was. But I mean, I guess I'm not surprised though. I thought you were more reasonable than him, but maybe you are. I don't know. Some of your beliefs and I just have to completely disagree with. I don't understand them whatsoever. And blaming Trump for the stuff that's going on right now or in the Middle East is insane.
Right.
This stuff's been going on for 3,000 years.
Like Trump didn't have nothing to do with fucking the Iraqi war and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So I mean,
nothing. I don't even believe he was for it, to be honest with you.
Probably not. I think he was probably wanting to build some fucking, golf courses or some bullshit.
Yeah. Well, listen, what's going on right now, my prediction is this. I believe that what's going to happen this week or in the next 2 weeks is that we're going to wind up knocking out a lot of their infrastructure for their power plants. Obviously, their bridges. Trump's been talking about it to get to stop the mobility of the IRGC and the besieged inside Iran. That country is absolutely huge. They got 100 million people. It's about 1/5 the size of the entire United States on the map. You're not talking about a small country here. It's a very, very large country.
Right.
And we're basically right now is that we're just completely trying to cripple that entire regime until they can either get them to come to the table and negotiate or make up a deal, or we can get the people to have an uprising and finally get rid of that regime once and for all. I don't think we'll have a problem with either one of them. I believe at this point, it's in our best interest to get rid of that regime. I don't believe that we originally went in there for that. But at this point, there's been too much that has happened. And the people that you're going to be left with are going to be such hardliners and such, religious fanatics that they're going to have no choice but to want to get nuclear weapons so they won't feel threatened again like this could ever happen to them ever again. And then we're going to wind up having to go back and do the same thing in, 2 years from now or 3 years from now, however long it's going to be. And we're not going to take that risk or that opportunity or chance to do it. And most likely, if it's not already happening right now, what will be happening is that we're either going to take control of Karg Island, or we're going to wipe out the oil infrastructure that they have completely, so we cripple them financially.
But if we do that, then we don't just cripple them. We cripple, like, you know, a bunch of the UK and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we'll do that.
You don't think we'll do what?
I don't think we'll do that, because I think if we did, we're not just crippling them. You know what I mean? We're crippling, you know, a bunch of like the UK that they get their oil from the motherfuckers.
Yeah, but that's it's not going to matter. We don't have a choice, and we're just going to have to increase the global supply and the reserves that people have, and people are going to have to deal with the prices for a while until that regime completely collapses, because it'll come to a point where you got to put a stranglehold on them economically until they fall into complete financial crisis, and they have no other choice but to give up, and the people have an uprising, or they need to come in and try to make a deal to try to get anything back, because that's their lifeline right there. If you're able to cut off their lifeline,
right,
then they're done. If they don't have money to pay people and to live it the way that they do, they're going to have no choice but to do that. I know we don't want to do that, but they're leaving us no choice. That's what that post is all about. They've been avoiding doing this for the last 2-3 weeks now. They've been telling them, we don't want to do this. They've been warning them. And they've been playing hardball at every turn. So they're leaving people no choice but to go and take these more drastic measures and drastic steps, because these guys want to keep fucking around and not coming to the table and acting like civilized people.
right. So if we're bitching about, you know, gas prices and shit, and we're threatening to do that shit, you know what I mean? The people in the UK, what the fuck do you think they're gonna say? Like, they're not just bitching about gas prices. You know what I mean? Like heat and shit like that, you know, agriculture. I mean, that's just gonna fuck up a lot of their shit.
Well, right now, basically the main benefactor in all of this at the end of the day is kind of Russia, because now it's just opening up Russia's oil and gas supplies right now for them to provide them over to China and to Europe and stuff like that. So they're making a ton of money right now with what's going on. So they're not coming to the aid of the Iranians. I mean, yeah, I guess they're allegedly helping them with like logistics and satellite stuff to target bases and shit like that. But
yeah,
we can't really say much, because we're doing that with Ukraine right now.
Right. And the Russia, they're just playing catch up. You know what I mean? Like, they've lost so much already.
Yeah. He said, I got to go to sleep Monday morning. Trump will be manipulating the market before 9:30. It's a good comment. I heard this before too. People said that Trump keeps putting out these pressers or statements on like the True Social stuff, talking about them working out negotiations and deals, and then the Iranians are coming out on their end saying that, oh no, we're not talking about anybody. Trump's lying about the whole thing because he's trying to keep the oil prices down and stuff like that. And it's like, no. Why do you think the Iranians are charging $2 million a ship right now to pass through the Strait of Hormuz? Obviously, because they need the money right now, because everything is fucked up and it's starting to hurt them financially.
And not only that, but it's going to hurt other people for them to fucking try to get, go against the United States and shit. Say, hey, man, leave them alone. Stop.
Yeah, and they're going to listen. At the end of the day, we're basically sending people a message. Trump told them the other day, if you guys don't want to help us out in the strait, we've done our part to keep these guys contained and under control. You see what they're doing right now. You go down there, send your own fucking people. Go get the oil yourself. We're not gonna we don't get anything from them. Fuck you guys. You want to figure it out? Go do it yourself. We did the hard part.
Right. And now maybe that's the case. Maybe that's what he's thinking. Saying like, fuck you, motherfuckers, man.
No, that's where he's at right now. That's what's going on. 100%. That's exactly what he's doing. This whole thing that he's doing with the NATO, with the people, by telling them to come and help us out, that was all just a test, man. I'm telling you. That was all a test.
I think he's been wanting to get out of NATO, though.
Well, yeah, because it goes back to the whole America First thing, where people are like, oh, what's going on right now isn't America First. Well, how can you say it's not America First? Trump's over here sitting doing the math, and he's saying, we provide NATO with trillions of dollars, with military aid, with defense systems to help keep these guys protected. But then what do we really get out of it at the end of the day? We can't even get you guys to come and help us out to straighten out an issue right now that's in international waters.
Right.
These guys are literally holding the world at gunpoint right now. A bunch of fanatical, radical, fundamental jihadist lunatics are holding the world hostage right now, just like they did back in the 70s with the oil embargo that sent the world into economic crisis. And they say, oh, well, they're only doing that right now because of the military action that got taken out right now. Well, what do you think they would be doing if they became nuclear capable? They already threatened all of their partners and stuff in the Middle East. And on the down low, all those other Middle Eastern and Arab nations and countries that are all throughout the Middle East are all helping us. They want us to get rid of that fucking regime.
I was going to say, like, do you think, like, okay, if that was the case, right? Like, let's just say they were able to manufacture one and it leaked out. You don't think fucking, you know, them surrounding countries are going to send their own people in to, like, fuck them up? Like, no, motherfucker, you send that shit to the United States. You think about what the fuck they're going to send back. It's not just your dumbasses. It's the rest of us.
Yep. And then, you know, did you see the report where they went and rescued the pilot that got shot down there in the F-15 or whatever?
Woo!
So that was brilliant, right?
Yeah.
That operation that they carried out, we didn't lose a single service member. Not a single one of them got wounded. Nothing happened, right? Now, what was the propaganda that people like that Professor Morandi guy came out and started speaking about on all these channels? He was talking about how, you know, they had to go and they had to blow up their own helicopters and planes because the Iranians, the regime was claiming that they shot down these helicopters. They shot down the rescue helicopters. They shot down these other F-35 planes or whatever and stuff like that. And that the Americans are lying about why those helicopters and airplanes got blown up, because I think there was an issue where we got stuck in the sand and they had to abort the mission that they were carrying out during the rescue operations. Things didn't go exactly as planned, obviously, because they wound up running into some resistance or whatever. Well, meanwhile, what did we actually find out happened? We found out that the pilot that landed was being helped by the local Iranians that helped them flee up into that mountains, into that ridge, and they were putting up roadblocks to stop the IRGC and the Basij from getting into the area to go and target the pilot that was up there, even though the Iranian government was on their local TV or national TV
offering
putting out a reward for the pilot.
Yeah, gangs of money, like fucking, I can't remember how much, but you know what it reminded me of?
For them, it was millions. Yeah. It was 60,000 US, which is millions out there.
Where that soldier in Afghanistan, the same shit happened to that soldier in, I can't remember what it's called right now. God damn it. But you know what I mean? I don't know if they were Taliban, but the Afghanis took them in and kept them from the Taliban.
Oh, you're talking about the one they made the movie about, Marcus Luttrell?
Yeah. That's what that story reminded me of. Yeah,
well, the thing is, well, I don't know how it is in Iran, but the thing in Afghanistan is that even if one of your enemies comes to you, like to your home, those are like real Muslims, real people that practice their faith,
right?
Where they actually believe what their holy book says, not that radical fundamentalist jihadi fucking view of their text actually tells them. They have culture that goes back and tells them that if somebody comes to you and they're in need, you're supposed to help them no matter what. Even though they wound up fighting their own people and whatever, Al-Qaeda or ISIS, whatever it was that was in that village or whatever, they were going to kill their own family and they were going to protect them at all costs. Even if it meant them themselves getting killed over.
Lose their lives,
yeah. And that's how the real, you know, Muslims and stuff like that actually are. You know, these people give these guys a bad name and a bad rap, unfortunately.
Right.
But that's what you have to deal with when you're dealing with these you know, terrorists and shit like that. Because at the end of the day, that's all that these people are. They're fucking terrorists.
And they were fucking throwing out propaganda like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, they still are. That guy, that professor guy that's doing his round on all these things now. 99.9% of the entire country in Iran has no internet connection or anything like that. But meanwhile, that guy's on fucking Al Jazeera and Sky News Australia every day. You know what I'm saying?
You don't got no Wi-Fi, motherfucker. How's everybody seeing your bitch ass?
Yeah, exactly. But for some reason, that guy has it. So you're not going to tell me he's a paid puppet by the fucking IRGC to go out and do all these shows? Of course he is. So this asshole is telling everybody on a show that I'm watching earlier that he says that the Americans were lying about the reasons why they blew up those helicopters. They weren't stuck in the sand. It was because of the IRGC and the besieged forces were on them and they had to abort their mission, this and that. Well, what came out like an hour after this idiot came on and did this interview? The U.S. went out and posted them setting up the fucking detonators on the helicopters and videotaping them blowing them up. Now, do you think he's going to come on the news tomorrow and apologize?
Fuck no.
Hell fucking no.
They're going to say that was just the U.S. on the moon fucking doing another fucking propaganda bullshit.
Exactly. And that's what my problem is. And then you'll come on and you'll come into chats or people will leave comments and they'll be repeating this propaganda like it's the fucking truth or whatever. And it just gets me so irritated and so aggravated that I got fellow Americans and people. We're supposed to be standing side by side right now, basically rooting for and hoping that the information that they're getting out of Iran right now is true and shit, and that our government is lying to them about what's going on right now. It's fucking crazy.
Right. I would hope that, you know what I mean, most, even if they don't like Trump or whatever the fuck, like, look, you don't have to like Trump, you know what I mean? And the military people, look, they're only doing what they're fucking, you know, what they're told to do and shit, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them don't like the political bullshit, but they still got to do what they got to do, you know what I mean? And for anybody that wouldn't want that guy to, you know, those two guys to come home and shit like that, I would think that'd be kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and you know what? Thank God for our service members that are going out there, that are carrying out their missions, and they're
100%.
They pledged an allegiance to and swore to when they took that oath to be a service member. You know what I mean? Thank God for those people. At least we still have some real patriots in this country and some real heroes and stuff that we can count on.
Right.
Because if it was for these other people that are in these chats and in these comment sections, imagine having to send these fucking weenies out to go and do something for us. Jesus. We might as well just shoot ourselves. We might as well just shoot ourselves if I had to rely on them. Hey, what's up, Jersey Girl? How you doing, Jersey Girl? Good to see you. Hope everything's going good. Happy Easter, hon. I hope everything's going well for you and the family. Good to see you. Guys, if you guys are enjoying the show, please hit that like button, leave a comment after the show. If anybody would like to help support the channel, it would be much appreciated, guys. I got the info at the bottom of the ticker here. And Ruben, hey, would you mind holding me down for like 2 minutes? I just need to grab a drink real quick.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
brother.
I got this.
Be right back.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I seen that, and I was like, "Hey, man, that maybe they're gonna make a move about this guy too." But that's, you know what I mean, that's cool. You know what I mean? To think about, like, okay, you know, look, I get the point of like invading somebody's backyard, right? I wouldn't want that shit to happen to us and shit like that, right? But then we do this shit, you know, and these, you know, you got these Americans that, you know, pilots, whatever, you know what I'm saying? They got all fucked up, whatever. And then what happens? You know what I mean? The people that fucking keep saying, oh, yeah, man, they hate Americans, this and that, you know what I mean? Took them in and fucking held them safe so they can get home safe. That's some good shit, you know what I mean? To me, that's some Jesus shit right there.
All right, thanks, bro. Appreciate you, man.
Word.
Back in action, man. What do we got? Anybody else got anything in the chat? Hey, Howard, how's it going, man? Good to see you, bro. Hope you're doing well, man. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, happy Easter, everybody.
Yeah, I told anybody that wants to hop on, I dropped the link in the chat. Anybody wants to come on and hang out for a little bit, chop it up or discuss anything, feel free to join on. If anybody's got any things they want to say in the chat, feel free to post them. Try to answer them best I can. What happened?
Fucking Dwayne.
What is that?
Comment. He said, I was enjoying the show except for doubting Thomas' fucking comments, anti-alien agenda.
Oh, he's a big alien UFO guy. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jersey Girl. I appreciate it. Yes, all is well. I had a good day today. Thank you. Weather's finally turning around. I can't complain. Yeah, I'm not big in the I'm not big into the aliens. I don't believe in none of that shit.
Homeboy was talking about some.
But listen, I could be wrong. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to say that. I could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong,
Right,
but
right.
I could be.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I necessarily believe in aliens per se.
I just don't know, where the fuck they came from and how the hell they got here without us knowing it until they showed up in the atmosphere. I don't buy it.
Didn't Homeboy say like they were making the aliens or some shit like that the other night?
Oh, the guy on the other day, yeah, he was saying
Yeah.
something fucking wild. Yeah.
And I was like, hold up, homie. I'm like, did you just say that the aliens are making the aliens or some bullshit?
Yeah, he was saying they make them with the drone. I don't know what the fuck he was. He was saying something crazy. Yeah, he thinks that every time you see a gray, they're with the spaceship or so. I don't know.
Yeah, they're from Mars
Them out of the ocean or something like that. He was getting real
right,
crazy.
right.
Yeah, he was on some other shit. That guy.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, I gotta say, you know, he still believes in God, so that's what's up.
Oh, hey, I got something from Cash App going here from a friend of the show.
They were cool,
Thank
though,
you
you know
very
what I mean?
much for the support.
I thought they
Let me
were gonna
see
come
here.
up and like just
Hey, Christine, thank you so much, Christine,
like
for the
take
donation.
over
I
or just start
appreciate you,
being
hon.
a
I'm glad,
bunch of
glad you're
kids
enjoying
and
the
shit.
show,
But
Christine. Thank you.
cool.
What'd you say?
I thought they were gonna come up and start acting like a bunch of dickheads. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no! Somebody, I had my phone on the charger in the other room. I went and grabbed the extension cord when I came out, so I just plugged it in and I just got the notification on there. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't know if people wanted to hop on and grab the link or whatever. You guys are free to come on and bullshit. We'll hang out for a little bit longer and then probably get going if nothing else is going down.
Yeah. Come on, people, come up. That's bullshit.
Oh, hold on. I think I got something else. Somebody else sent something over. Hold on 1 second.
Word.
I gotta check these manually because they don't give me notifications. Hey, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. I don't know if you want me to shout you out, but you know who you are, brother. Thanks for the PayPal, and I hope everything's going good for you and the little pup. You know who you are, man. Thank you, brother. And I agree with you, man. I stand with Israel 100%, man. 100%. Absolutely. And I think that everybody should. I was telling somebody in a community post earlier that I had made. I was trying to explain a little bit of history to them because for some reason they don't seem to understand that if you what is the old saying again, that if you don't remember history, you're doomed to repeat it, right?
Absolutely.
So all these so-called great nations and empires and people that went against the Jews all perished. I don't care if it took a month, 10 years, or 1,000 years. At the end of the day, all those empires have fallen, and Israel and the Jews are still here. So, and the other thing too is that, it's unfortunate whether or not, you're religious or you read the Torah, the Old Testament, the Bible, the Quran, whatever it is. At the end of the day, if you look at what's going on right now throughout history, all this stuff has been written about in those books, the prophecies that came out, the fall of Jerusalem, the fall of Babylon, the Roman Empire. All this stuff was predicted by Jesus and other prophets throughout history. And if you guys read it and you understood it, and you see the covenant that God made with the Jewish people to give them the land of Israel, then you would understand a little bit more about the conflict and what's going on currently right now in the Middle East. So I just find it absurd that people are so naive and so ridiculous at the end of the day. It's actually, unsettling, man, to say the least,
Yeah, but at the same time, you know what I mean? I'm not one to demean them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it can get annoying, you know what I'm saying? It can get annoying when anybody disagrees with you when you're passionate about something, you know what I'm saying? But like, I try not to, I'm not going to be like this. Just because we have disagreements, I'm not going to make me dislike you.
No, I don't. Listen, I don't. There's been somebody, I don't know if you've seen it. You probably don't get it because I get tagged in it or whatever, but there's this one girl on here that's been tagging me in posts, and she was hoping that let me tell you how crazy this shit is. She was hoping that I died and said that she thinks that people like me should cease to exist on this planet. I swear to God. That's the type of, That's the type of shit I'm getting for saying the stuff. That
God
I'm saying, you know?
damn.
But that's not going to stop me from saying what I'm saying. If they think that that's going
Right.
to stop me, I don't know what to tell you.
Right. It's like, hold up, bitch. You ain't the first person to tell me that shit. You ain't gonna be the last.
They sent me this. It says some men improve the world by leaving it. I mean, how crazy is that shit? Now, I'm not telling anybody that doesn't agree with me some crazy shit like that. They're basically telling me that they hope that I died and the world would be a better place without me, you know?
Right. And I'm gonna listen to a person like that, you know. I mean, even though it's kind of fun.
Well, unfortunately that's the type of shit that you got to deal with on here when you give your opinion that people don't like or don't agree with. They want to get all fucking crazy on you and then call you a genocidal maniac while they're wishing death upon you.
Right. So this is what I do with people like that, right? It's like this. It's when you go into a conversation or something like that, you know what I mean? And you can fairly kind of get this right away. If the person is an unreasonable person in the conversation, it's not going to go anywhere. There's no point of having that conversation. The unreasonable, you know what I mean? They're not willing to say, you know what? I may be wrong. You know what I'm saying? So if they're unreasonable, I'm not going to have no debate or conversation with them about anything. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, you have your opinion. Yeah. I don't care. You have it. You know, but if a reasonable person, we can have conversations because reasonable people can either disagree to disagree or they can learn stuff from each other. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, okay, I get this. You know what I'm saying?
Something you want to know what I replied to them?
Yeah.
I replied to them that I wish them well, God bless, and happy Easter.
That's how you do it.
That's what I replied to. You know what
and
I mean?
I bet they fucking hate that.
Well, what do you want me to tell you? I mean, I gotta. I mean, it's sick, but at the same time, I gotta just kind of look back and kind of laugh and just be like, I'm the one that's fucking evil and I'm the devil and shit, and you're over here wishing that I die, saying the world would be a better place without me because I disagree with you about what's going on in the world right now. I mean, that's the definition of insanity.
Insane.
Yeah. It's the same thing you get with like the people on the left, you know, not all of them. I don't want to group them all together, but like the radical ones, like the far left ones or whatever, that like hate Trump and hate any conservatives and stuff like that. It's like these people are radical and shit like that, and they'll tell you that you're the crazy one and you're the nut. Meanwhile, they're supporting people trying to take shots at the president and shit like that, trying to assassinate the guy, rooting him on, right? You know, or they'll praise the guy that fucking killed Charlie Kirk and talk about what a scumbag he is, but then they'll turn around and read Donald Trump's post when he says, I'm happy Mueller died from old age or whatever, and they'll call him the fucking devil while they were celebrating Charlie Kirk getting assassinated. It's like, the fuck are we talking about right now? Are you people serious? Like, are you serious right now? You guys think you're rational, reasonable fucking people? I mean, come on. It's insane, man.
You're not speaking hate or ill or ugliness. These people are just lost at this point. It was like what was I gonna say? Oh, my friend asked like the No Kings rallies. So he's like, "Hey, what are you rallying for?" Oh, because Trump is going to run for a third presidency. No, he's not. You know, and this is what you're rallying about.
The only way possible that Donald Trump could ever quote unquote serve a third term is a legal technicality where he would have to run for
as
vice president, right? Let's say, you know, JD Vance or Marco Rubio ran and he was the vice president, and then that person died or had some type of emergency or whatever and had to leave office, then he would be able to come in and carry out like four years or whatever. And that's like a legal but that's never happened before. It's unlikely to happen. I doubt it'll happen.
Yes.
And if you listen to these guys, they think Trump's dying. They've been saying he's dying for the last fucking 6 years now and think that he's going to croak any day now. Now, I will say, unfortunately, you know, being the president of the United States has to be one of the most stressful jobs in the entire world. Let's just be honest. It takes a toll. Any president that I've ever seen leaves office, you look at the guy a couple years later and you're like, holy shit. He looks like he aged 20 years in the last 2 or 3 years, you know?
Right.
And Trump definitely looks like he's aged a lot over the last couple of years. But look at what the guy's been through. I mean, they tried killing him, 3 or 4 different fucking times. Shot him in the fucking ear. Damn near killed the guy. Then he's got to deal with all these fucking witch hunts and investigations and fucking lawsuits and fucking shit.
But not just him, but his whole entire fucking family.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, all of them. So just think about what that kind of stress will cause him, man. And at the end of the day, he's still out here doing what he thinks is
Yeah.
best for us and the American people. And if people got a problem with that,
Mhm.
I don't know what to tell you. And listen, if it turns out in 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now that all of the shit that he did was wrong, hey, I'm all right with it. I got to live with it because at the time that I thought he was doing it, I thought he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, you know what's right and what's wrong. Like Biden not handling his business and letting millions of people come over the border unvetted. You knew that was going to be a bad situation, and we haven't even seen the worst of it yet.
Like
God willing, we don't.
Right. Here's the thing about that though, right? Is like I say we, but like people let them get, lied to by Biden and shit, right? They were like, oh no, he's not gonna do that. He didn't do that. Whereas, like, how about you let Trump let you down? You know what I'm saying? Instead of fucking just, smashing him down to the ground before he even gets a chance.
Oh, well, that's what and you're right. That's what they try to do. They try to knock the guy before he even gets an opportunity to fucking try the shit.
And all he's doing is returning, I mean, he's releasing stress. They're fucking with him in ways we don't even know about. And he's just returning it by saying, I'm going to be I can't wait for my third presidency. He's just returning the psychological, warfare that they're fucking putting on him and his family and half of us in this country.
Yeah, that's why
That's why
talking about fake news, and then that fake news actually turned out being fake news.
Yeah, that's what it is too. Yeah, that's why I love that post earlier. Everybody's up in arms, like, "Oh, look at the post he made. He's gonna blow up bridges and power plants." And he said this. I said, "Good. Fuck him. Tell him that shit." For the same people that think that, oh yeah, we should just turn our back on Israel right now, turn our back on the Jews, let them get annihilated and exterminated off the planet, and then we'll let the Muslims just go around killing each other until they figure that out too. I mean, what a mess, man. It's crazy, bro.
Crazy is right. I mean, the Muslim, you said it, and I'm glad you brought. I was going to say it, but yeah, their ideology is to dominate the world. You just like Jehovah's Witnesses want the end of the world. Their ideology is to dominate the world.
Yeah, they want to bring out
one religion
and shit like that. Yeah. And now, meanwhile, you got these radical. Well, not even radical. A lot of the Muslims think like that, but the radical ones are the ones that are trying to push that globalization and Sharia law. They believe that it's their divine duty and the will of Allah to tell them to carry out to inhabit the earth and to spread that Sharia law across the fucking planet and shit. It's like, man, you people are fucking whacked out of your minds. But meanwhile, if you actually read the Quran and what the stuff says in there, it does exactly the opposite of what these people fucking wind up doing. Not only God, but to their own fucking people, they do this shit. It's sick, man. It's absolutely sick, man.
And I think they're just getting more desperate because the tide was going in their way, but now it's all changing. Belgium passed new laws, American-like, and America's shutting the shit down. England's shutting it down. Belgium just passed new laws. Poland won't have them.
Hey, you got crazy feedback coming through your mic, so you got to turn something off or come back in or do something. You got like a double talk coming.
How's it now? Better?
Let me hear it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Everybody in the chat, let me know. They're the ones in the chat saying it. So, Jersey and somebody else had said you had some crazy.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I'm still getting it. All right, I'll catch up.
Huh?
I'll be back.
All right.
Yeah, he's come back up.
Yeah, he's got to reset his audio, his mic or something. He's having issues with it. It's playing feedback in the background. I'm not sure what it's from.
I wonder if it's fucking a StreamYard that keeps doing that with people's shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to get an external mic and a headset or whatever so I can eliminate that because I think that I think that was driving Howie crazy earlier because he was hearing feedback from his end on this thing. So I think he was
right. Yeah.
We were trying to work it out last show. I thought I had it fixed or whatever, but for some reason it's just getting progressively worse and worse. So I gotta just I'm gonna have to just get the mic and headset or whatever and just do it like that then, unfortunately. Boogeyman, thank you, comment. I was almost offended for the first time here. Why? What happened? What did I miss? What did I miss, Boogie? They ruined your high. I'm sorry, we fucked up your high, man. God damn it. Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
got an
100%.
alternate. They got an alternate interpretation of their holy book and their hadiths in order to control their own people and then to terrorize their own people with it. It's insane. There's a guy's channel on here. I think it's called like the Israel Advocacy Channel. His name's like Omi. He's got like about 600,000 subscribers. He does a lot of really good like content. He does like live streams and he brings people on to like discuss. And he speaks like 5 different languages.
Right.
And he brings people on, like a lot of these people are like Muslims or like Palestinians or, you know, a lot of Arabs from different parts of the Middle East that come on. And he's read the Quran like 5 or 10 different times. He can recite it in Arabic and in like 5 other languages. The guy's brilliant. And he has people on and he does debates and conversations with them. And he recites back stuff from the Quran. And the people are just like, they don't know.
Right?
They don't know what to fucking tell him. He tears them up a new asshole. It's fucking great, man. It's great.
Right, because he'll be like, "Is this, you know, that does that state this in the Quran?" They'll be like, "No. Oh, here it is, right here, motherfucker."
Yeah, well, one of the main points that he was bringing up is that he was talking about the shit that happened on October 7th when Hamas went and paratrooped into Israel and they were taking the girls, kidnapping them and raping them and stuff like that. Talking about. You know, little 13, 14-year-old girls and how beautiful and sexy they looked in like their Arabic language. And he would ask him, he's like, you know, what does your prophet say and stuff like that? What does Muhammad say about doing stuff like that, about kidnapping? And, you know, you'll hear them coming up with all different excuses and talking about, oh, those were different times. That was thousands of years ago. And things are different now. And it's like, well, if you have an all-loving, all-purposeful God that knows everything and is the perfect picture of how somebody is supposed to carry themselves and live out their life, then how could that be so if the guy's committing haram and telling other people to do that too? You know?
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. What's going on? Dragon? How you doing, man? Happy Easter to you and your family, man. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Is that Fish? What up, Fish? Yeah, I'll be honest. I've never really read the Quran too much. I know parts of it and I know some sections of it and stuff like that, but I've never sat down and actually read it. Maybe I should though.
I mean, I have the Quran.
Maybe I'll check that out.
I read a couple lines and then I was kind of like, I can't read this book. And it's pretty righteous. It's a good book though. But I never read the Bible. I'm going to read the Quran. It just felt wrong when I started to read it, but it is logical and righteous, like what I've read in it.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, all the you know holy books are and all the prophets are the message and stuff that's in there is a good message and it is a good way to live your life if you actually live your life like that and carry it out, not what these people tell you that the fucking interpretation is and what you should do in there.
Yeah, because the Bible tells stories, and I guess there's also lessons in there, right? And there's different books. Parables. The Quran, I mean, I only read a few lines, so I'm really not speaking from, but yeah, it was like, you know, the eye for an eye. It was like, yeah, like just righteousness and whatnot. I think I got to go because I think I'm getting feedback.
Your audio is crazy, bro.
All right, thanks, guys. God bless everybody. Thanks, man.
Try restarting your phone, maybe.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, try restarting it. All right. Yeah, well, that's the whole issue and argument is with people's main issues that they have actually with the Quran is that, you know, it does incite, you know, violence and you know, intolerable acts and stuff that's considered, you know, haram or considered sin that they tell their people to go on and carry out and shit like that. And it's like, if you read the Old Testament, you'll find a lot of stuff in there like similar to it, but that's the whole part of when Jesus came in with the New Testament and a whole different way of living life and carrying out stuff. You don't see Jesus in there waging wars with fucking people and telling you to bash their skulls in and kill babies and, you know, grape, you know, women or whatever. You don't see any of that shit. But you'll find that in the Quran. You'll find that in the Old Testament though. And you know, that's my only. And, you know, like I said, I'm not here to tell somebody else that their, you know, religion is wrong or their faith is wrong or whatever. But even when you have like the interpretations from the Jews that don't accept Jesus as the Messiah, they do it and they speak about it in like technicalities, but they don't that's the one part that I will disagree with. And I understand, a lot of people's arguments that, people have a hard time believing that there was a man born of a virgin, or that he, walked on water, or turned, water into wine, or that he died
Right.
and rose 3 days later and, saw his disciples, apostles, or whatever. And they have a hard time grasping their mind around it, or coming to terms with that and stuff like that. And it's like, well, I don't have an answer for you. I can't tell you, what to think or what to believe in, and I understand, but that's the whole part about having faith. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that the people that lived during these times were just as informed with us and understood that in order for somebody to have a baby, they had to have intercourse. People aren't born of virgins. That was the whole argument of why he was going to leave Mary at the end of the day, and then was convinced not to because, she had God's son, the Messiah, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, if what was in that book wasn't true, and Jesus wasn't the Son of God and didn't die and rise after the 3 days, then the whole entire Christian faith would have died that day if he never came back and was resurrected and his people saw him.
Right.
Christianity would, and for some reason, not only did it survive, but it thrived, and it's one of the most followed religions in the entire world, and that's not by happen chance.
Right. And it's
In
not
my
you're just reading a book and you're thinking like, oh, that's cool, right on. No,
Yeah,
it's
you'll get
thing
people
is,
that
you have to, and the faith isn't in a book. You know what I mean? The faith is what we're reading and what we get out of it. You know what I mean? The spiritual message as well as the earthly message and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. That's all part of having faith, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, how easy would it be? I heard somebody arguing one day. He was having a debate on this topic. Hey, Rob Jean, what's up, man? Good to see you, bro. Happy Easter to you and the family, man. Glad you could join us. I was watching somebody having a debate on this exact topic, and they were discussing how did they put it? They were discussing whether or not they believed that, I guess, Jesus was like a historical figure or something like that. But when you read the Quran, even the Quran talks about how Jesus was a prophet.
That was proven. Jesus was an actual real person.
Yeah, there's not one historical I don't know, what do they call the historical people that deal with like not like anthropologists and like that, but like
theologian.
Yeah, well, not the religious ones, but even like ancient historians that deal with like
right.
That even those people won't deny that Jesus lived on the earth and that he was an actual person that lived during those times. You know what I mean? Nobody argues that. Not across any of those religions. They just disagree on whether or not he was the Son of God. That's
if he was the Son of God.
Yeah, he was.
And if he did these miracles and shit like that.
Yeah, and I find it funny too because the people that don't like Jewish people or whatever, like you'll get like these like Nazi type people that say that they believe in God and they're Catholic or Christian, whatever, believe in Jesus. But then at the end of the day, Jesus was a Jew at the end of the day.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
King
like
of the Jews. That's what his thing says up on the top of his cross. King of the Jews.
Yeah. And they believe that because he was named Jesus and he wasn't named Emmanuel, that means that that's not the Messiah or whatever, because he didn't fulfill the exact prophecy the way that it was laid out in the Old Testament or something like that. But the name Emmanuel means God with us, I believe. And that's basically what Jesus was. God with us, God as in man,
Right.
I just find it funny that
and when you think about it,
the people that will argue with you about like religion or whether or not it's just a made up book of stories and fucking hypotheticals or whatever, and it's bullshit. You ask them if they've ever like opened it or read it or something. They've never even read the book or opened it or looked at it.
Right.
That's the part that blows my mind.
I've come across like a couple times, you know what I mean, like atheists, you know what I'm saying, and they'll be like spewing their bullshit, and then I'll ask them like, okay, do you believe in like spirits and like ghosts and goblins and shit? And they'll be like, yeah. Okay, well, if you believe in spirits, then you believe in God.
Yeah.
Nah, fuck that. Okay, well, here's the thing. God is a spirit, you know what I mean? So if you believe in spirits, you believe in God.
Well, That was the funniest thing. I actually got into it with somebody on here before. There's other people that obviously don't believe in God or in the Holy Spirit or whatever, but they'll believe in ghosts. And it's like, so you
And you
believe
believe in
you
God.
believe that there's ghosts, but you don't believe in the Holy Ghost?
Right.
And
Right.
I'm the crazy one, right?
Yeah.
Make
You know what I
that
mean?
shit make sense.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? It's like, really, okay, like I'm not gonna, like, you know, invest too much into it after they say some stupid shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's about as ridiculous as you get right there. If
Yeah, because
you have a ghost, that means that you got to believe that people have souls, right? Because if you aren't in a physical form, then you're able to be a ghost. And what do you what do you call that then?
right, what do all fucking people have? We all have souls, right?
I believe
And
so.
you know, there's, I believe, probably most people believe in some kind of spiritual, if you want to call it frequencies, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But there's spirits, and people have had weird, not extraterrestrial, paranormal things happen. You know what I'm saying? Or how about this? Why do you want to talk to your grandma who's passed away? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, if you want to do that, then guess what? You believe in spirits because you believe that your dead grandma can come back and speak with you and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
And boogeyman, that's a good that is a good thing too. I agree with that completely. You know, at the end of the day, any form of religion, whatever you believe in a higher power, and it puts you on the right path to live a better, better life,
100%.
more productive life. Then I'm all for it. You know what I mean?
Right, right. You know, I have a lot of friends that, you know, that say they did the street life, you know, games, whatever, shit like that. And I used to tell them, you know what I mean? Like, just imagine, I mean, the as much effort that you put into doing what you're doing, you know what I'm saying, right now with your homies, whatever the fuck you want to call them, you know what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
you just turned that shit, did a 180 and shit like that, how much better would you feel about yourself? How much better would other people look at you and shit like that? You know what I mean? But it goes further. And then it's like, you know, how much better would the world be if you did it and then somebody seen it and it influenced somebody else to do it? You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, there's just that thing, you know, like, I realized at a certain point, uh, doing bad things doesn't make you happy. You know what I mean? It doesn't make you rich and shit like that. It just makes you fucking miserable.
Yeah. It breeds that.
Right. Right.
It feeds off that energy, that negative energy.
You know, and instead of, you know, fighting about everything, how about people just have conversations? You know what I'm saying? That, I think we've lost that. You know, we used to have like debates in school, right? People lost the ability to debate people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and it's because, oh well, it's my opinion or whatever the fuck. Well, okay, have your opinion. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? I used to be an atheist too, so I know what like all the arguments are and shit. I used to watch all the debates and I used to listen to all that stuff, and I could fucking tell you who the four horsemen of atheism are and what all their arguments are and stuff like that. And
Right,
the
right.
more and more I would like research it and look into it, I would just be like, this shit doesn't make any fucking sense, man. And I realized that a lot of people turn away from God or don't want to believe in God because as soon as they understand that there is a higher power and that there is a God, that they have to be responsible for their actions and how they carry out and live their life on this earth, because there's going to be repercussions for it, and you might have to pay for it after this whole thing is over with, and people don't want to have to take that responsibility or accountability, so they'd rather just deny the existence of God because they don't want to have to give in and understand that they aren't as important as they think they are. Their egos are too
Right.
big for them to look up to realize that they really ain't shit at the end of the day.
A lot of people can't handle having convictions, right? So like, let's say, okay, there's somebody that don't believe in God, you know, and they do something wrong. They don't have the conviction that a believer has when they do something wrong. It's like, okay, yeah, we feel bad, but we feel a little extra bad because we know we did wrong by our creator.
Yeah.
Where the other person don't think like that. You know what I'm saying? So the convictions that we have, I mean, we constantly have this internal struggle of fuck, like I let him down again. You know what I mean? But it's like what Jesus said, fall what 7 times 77 times 77, I don't know, some shit like that. Get the fuck back up. You know what I'm saying? Try again. Nobody's gonna, I've seen it where there's been outcasts, you know what I'm saying? And then they've done like a 180 and then they've been so accepted and shit. And it's like, goddamn, like, I wish everybody could see some shit like that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, eventually, I'm not going to force it on anybody. I think that it's up to people individually to come to that, understanding and shit like that. It took me a long, long, long time to get to that point, but I had to eventually just say, you know what? I think I was wrong about what I thought. You know what I mean? And I had one or two, personal experiences and shit where I had to finally understand that shit. I think I was wrong the whole fucking time. You know what I mean?
Like you couldn't deny it, right?
No, you can't.
Right. I told my cousin that once. So my cousin did like 21 years in prison and he never believed in God. And this dude is one of the luckiest sons to be. I mean, when he got out, he's on that black heroin shit, you know what I'm saying?
He's on what?
And he's on that heroin and stuff. This dude has wrecked so many cars. He's just lucky, you know what I'm saying? And one time he wrecked his car and he was pretty much like not a vegetable, but like he couldn't do anything. He's in a wheelchair. He's like slobbering. He could barely talk and shit like that, So my auntie brought him up because she needed a break. And I remember I was bathing him and I just got mad. You know what I mean? I'm like 2 weeks ago, man, he was up fucking moving around and shit, and here I am bathing him, and I'm like, look at yourself, dude. I said, look what the fuck you did. For what? Some stupid ass fucking drugs? I'm like, bro, you don't understand. If God didn't want you here, you wouldn't fucking be here after all the bullshit you've been through.
Yeah, you gotta have some type of purpose. You're still here, right?
Exactly, you know what I'm saying? And I think it was like 3 days after he left, he calls me up. He's like, hey, cuz, I get it. And I'm like, okay, cool, what'd you get? He's like, what you said. I'm like, motherfucker, I say a lot of shit, what I say. You know what I mean? But he started to accept the fact that that's true. You know what I mean? If God didn't want him here, he wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is the more he accepted that fact and actually looked into it, the better he got. I shit you not, he couldn't walk, Vavas, all the shit, couldn't clean himself. But the more he got into it, the better he got. He made a 100% recovery.
No, but that's great, man. But one of the things too that I realized is that a lot of the people, because it happened to myself too, right? Is that I find as though like the more times you want to turn your back on him or believe or whatever, and you're constantly denying his existence, is the more that he's looking, God's looking for you to try to find the way, and he's putting that into your mind, and eventually you'll get into your heart to you to accept that at the end of the day. And it's the people that are constantly denying him. He's constantly trying to put himself out there for you to understand and accept that. And it's a lot for people, but you got to put that ego to the side at some point and understand that there's more to it than just this thing. I saw Mike Tyson had made this comment one time. I don't really know what to take of it, because I think a lot of people's fears is death or whatever, right? I don't know too many people that can't say that they aren't, but he had made a comment when somebody asked him about that. And he said that as glorious as life is, he's like, death has got to be better. Like the way that he explained it, you know what I mean? Like if life is this beautiful and this glorious, it must be even better after you die or whatever. And I'm like, damn, does he really think like that? Like that's pretty wild. I ain't nowhere near that yet. I can tell you that right
now. My great grandma, she was like that. She was, old age, spent, she had a long life. And I remember she would just be like, I'm ready. And then my grandpa, like, grandma, don't say that. And I'm like, Mom, what is she talking about? Oh, I can't tell you. I'm like, she was ready. When she said she was ready, I'm just waiting for Jesus to come get me, But she, this is in Huntington Beach.
People believe that too. I've heard people do that, yeah.
When you start hearing old people, or just like somebody say, you know what, I'm tired, I'm ready to go, like they feel it, you know what I mean? Like they understand, like they feel it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure.
I believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
I've
So,
seen
you know,
it.
I mean, some people just want to go. You know, they want to be with them and stuff. You know.
Yeah, no, I've seen and heard that firsthand from people myself. So that's definitely true. People definitely do get to that point and believe that for sure. They're like excited to fucking go. They're like ready. I've heard them fucking say it personally. Like, what's the
Right.
point?
Right.
That's wild. But yeah, I
Like,
do agree with
like
Dwayne. Yeah,
sentence.
you don't have to go to church. They don't even talk about that in the Bible or anything. It doesn't say
Right.
you have to go to church and pray and none of that shit. You don't have to do
No,
that.
dude. Church is just an assembly of people like-minded. You know what I mean, and shit like that. You know,
Yeah, it's a place of worship.
church is two or more people speaking of Christ. That's church.
Yep.
That's what he says. You know what I mean? If there's two or more people speaking of me, I'm there.
Yes, I believe. Yeah, I do believe that too. I do believe that too, Scott. You know what I mean? I do believe that was God's interjection into not taking Trump out, man. He turned his fucking head at that last second, boy. That was
Right.
crazy, man.
Oh shit, right?
You can't tell me that wasn't no fucking hand of God, fucking doing some divine intervention. I don't know what you would call that.
But
That's
that's
what I
the
would
thing.
call it.
It's the hand of God. You know what I mean? That's the thing is we tend to think like, oh, we keep letting these small things, you know, these small miracles, and we don't acknowledge them. You know what I'm saying? But then it's like, wait a minute, we wake up every day, right? That's a miracle. Let's be thankful for that. You know?
Yeah, the fact that anything exists at all is a fucking miracle when you think
right.
about it. It don't make
Right.
any sense fucking otherwise.
You know
You
what I'm
have to
saying?
believe, in order for you not to believe in God or any of that shit, you have to believe that we're all here. Some happy fucking accident and shit like that. And I'm sorry, but I gotta have a lot more faith to be an atheist than I do to believe in God. If you have to believe in all that fucking shit to happen, you know,
Right, right.
That's the goddamn truth. You gotta have a lot of faith to be a fucking atheist.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, but you gotta have a lot of fucking how would you say I think sometimes they're just too scared. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just too scared to say, okay, you know what? I can't do this by myself. Everybody, not everybody. A lot of people think like when they get into a situation, I can handle it. I can handle it. And it breaks them down, breaks them down, breaks them down.
It's
And
ego.
eventually, sometimes people will say, you know what? Fuck it, I can't. And what happens, you know, when they finally submit to maybe they don't say it, but they're thinking it, you know, submit to God's fucking will and shit happens.
Yeah, it's the ego that doesn't allow people to do that either, though.
Right. Pride, you know what I mean? There's a lot of pride and ego and shit in that.
Narcissism. Be very
Just be humble.
You know?
Be humble and understand we can't do everything by ourselves, you know what I mean? Like,
nope.
And if God can help you, why not let that mo? Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. Well, listen, I'm gonna wrap it up, brother. I appreciate you coming on tonight. I had a good conversation. Thank you for joining up on the show. Always enjoy having you on. Good conversation going on.
Yeah, appreciate it. What's up, Daniel? Appreciate, you know, Howie, you know, coming up here and doing that. Everybody in chat, peace out.
All right, guys. Well, I want to wish everybody a happy Easter. If you guys came in late, thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed the show, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to the channel. If you guys wouldn't mind after the show, leave a comment. Anything you guys may be interested in talking about on the next show, any topic, shows, ideas, anything, feel free to leave something. And I try to get back to everybody. Thank you to the couple people that sent over some support and donations. I appreciate that, truly. Thank you guys very much. If anybody else would like to help support this channel and what we do over here, if you guys enjoy this, don't mind. I got the Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal at the bottom of the ticker. I want to thank everybody once again for being here tonight, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody.